Welcome, everybody, to our final day of the NLC this week. We have 2 elimination matches coming your way. Before we get into it, I do have to thank our sponsors, El Giganton, Corsair, Telia, and MasterCard. Cool. Thank you. I think Trouble's microphone squeak did manage to just signify the start of show. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the bracket because I want to... oh, wait. No. Wait. It's the last day of the week. I had to tell you before the bracket. Screw it. We're going to do the bracket now. It's the bracket, everybody. So we did just yesterday see BT versus Tricked and Fnatic Rising versus Riddle. Of course, XL and Fnatic won, although Riddle did not make it easy for Fnatic. We'll have that upper bracket final next week. But today we have a Riddle and Barrage and Tricked versus Nordavind. It is again an elimination match. That's why they're called elimination matches. Well done, Scoundrel. And essentially, if you lose, you're out of the competition. Now, before I ask Trouble and Googlebug their opinions, I do need to make you aware of a weekly raffle that we have going on social media. If you go to any of the social media channels, NLC LOL, you can go and get involved. Lots to give away. Just go and check out the social media channels that have all the information that you need. But I do thoroughly encourage you to go and have a look. So... now I can start to bring us to the matches today. But before we do, obviously, let's have a little look at some brief replays from yesterday. And I'm going to bring Trouble in just to talk me through some of those big moments from those yesterday's games.
Honestly, Sandro, this is the last time I put my faith on Trick because they literally slammed it on the ground. BTXL came in swinging. And honestly, the big highlight from this best of 3 that we saw yesterday between BTXL and Trick was hat tricks. This guy was smurfing all over Summoner's Rift. This specific thing on your screen, that was just him alone. He then went in again 1v4 with the Galio, got another double kill for himself. He was playing assassin or non-assassin champions, and that was honestly what I wanted to see from him. It was these EU Master performances where he took the leads and just ran with them.
And we also got to see a solo Lux bot lane, so that was kind of nice and refreshing seeing that. Question is are we going to get used to that kind of solo bot lane? Because specifically Tricked and Nordavind has been one of those teams playing out today. Yesterday we also had, obviously, the Fnatic versus Riddle, and Riddle actually taking a game off Fnatic. Unfortunately not able to take it to game 2 themselves, so Fnatic does make the reverse sweep, but that was a really intense series too.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Honestly, I think it's worth celebrating for Riddle that they dealt Fnatic their first loss in the entire tournament. You know, even though they didn't win the series, it was a very, very close series. The scoreline obviously reflecting how close it was, but even then inside the games themselves, really some of them could have swung either way, especially that final game. It was a little bit edgy for Fnatic. They might have ended up losing, and Riddle could have been the ones going through to face BTXL. Now, today, let's get on to today, because obviously it's important that we reiterate that if these teams lose, they are out of the competition. You know, this is do or die for them again, especially for the likes of Nordavind, you know, and also Barrage. They've already had to do this once. They're going to have to do it again. And I want to start with that first elimination match that we've got coming away, which is Riddle versus Barrage. And Trouble, it really feels like it's a tale of top side versus bot side.
I feel like this is what's going to decide pretty much the game, because we saw at Riddle yesterday that was basically 2v8. Senkax and Doxy were running the map down. They were trying to put everyone else inside their backpacks and literally try to get that victory versus an immortal up to that point Fnatic. And I'm actually really excited that we saw this iteration from Riddle, because it's been going sort of up and down. What I'm really worried though was their bot lane, because they did not look very fresh yesterday.
No, and although we have seen them to be mechanically good as a bot lane, it just feels like the main understanding of their game and the role individually in a team is just faltered. So many times did we see that they ended up in a 1-3-1 composition yesterday, where all they had to do was really just clear the mid lane, but they couldn't even do that. They ran out, they died, and it just made it harder for Riddle in what could have been an easier scenario.
Yeah, and actually, I'm gonna push both of you, because I'd love to hear your opinions on this. If I were to ask right now, who wins this and why? I kind of want to hear it. I want to hear like a straight up prediction from you guys. I want to have one take home statement in terms of who you think is going to take this series. I had trouble.
Shall we do it on 3? Shall we do it on 3?
Do you want to do it on 3? Okay, I'll let you go.
1.
Wait.
We do it on 3.
Yeah, but do you know what word to use instead? Don't use one of the team names. You know what word? That specific.
Okay. I'm in.
Right.
1, 2, 3. Denmark.
Denmark. Okay, so that's Riddle. Okay, right, I'm going to go to you, Trouble, first. Why?
I think it is due to the solo lanes. I have to give it to them. Senkax has been looking so great, no matter the pick, especially onto that Twisted Fate. It feels like if he gets Twisted Fate in his hands, he can just not lose the game at all. Doxy, whatever you put him on, even on the Maokai yesterday on the tank, he seemed like the one that found the great initiation. He was trying to turn around the team fights. So if it's up to the solo lanes, it's all Riddle.
And just to emphasize on that, when we got the Riddle Reborn, it was also through the solo laners. It's just not that. We actually have solo laners committing to each other, specifically because of the global compositions you get through specifically the Twisted Faith that we have seen Senkax being so good at influencing the map with, and he does it so often in the top line to get his teammate, but Doxy ahead too. So the solo laners of Riddle are just so good at the moment.
Yeah, and I think realistically, you guys talked about it yesterday. You did drive home that if anybody's going to win, it's going to be through the solo laners. And obviously, when we saw Doxy on Maokai, Trouble was tearing her hair out because she was like, no, this is not what I want to see. So it's very clear that we want to keep our eyes on those two lanes, particularly in this series. Okay, I'm going to move over to Nordavind versus Tricked now, our second elimination match of the day. And actually, again, I'm going to go to you, Gulbug, first this time round. Who do you think wins this best of 3? And tell me why.
Well, I think it's the underdog here in this scenario, at least guessing out of the predictions. I actually think it's going to be Tricked. I think that Nordavind looked better when we saw them play in the playoffs themselves, but I also believe that they can still be punished in drafts, specifically against a team like Tricked, who's so creative. And we have seen what happens to Nordavind when they get put on less comfort, and when they have to play from behind, they just falter.
Tell you what, I'm just gonna back up my boy Chris Beck here because he's been the shining star of the team. But why I'm biased this time is because I have been promised by Ericsson to possibly see more Assassins today, and I am a sucker for Assassins. I like to see it, I like the action, and with actually Eren from Tricked running it down multiple times in the mid lane, if you feed kills into Assassins, this can snowball really quickly, really out of control. So I believe on the side of Nordavind today.
I'm wondering whether you've been fed false promises, Trouble, because if there's no Assassins, I'm going to be very disappointed.
True, I'm going to change my prediction for some Assassins. True.
Okay, so let's, speaking of, let's have a look at those predictions, because I know you've alluded to some of the teams that you've chosen already, but let's have a look at the rest of the talent team. Myself and Chronicler have gone for Barrage here. The only two kind of going against the grain in the first best of 3. And then obviously Gulborg and Jake going for Tricked in the second best of 3 here. But realistically, if we're to go on prediction's sake, the favorites coming into this seem like it is both Riddle and Nordavind in their respective best of 3s.
And I think it's with good sense too, because obviously Riddle looked extremely dominant, and they took a game off Fnatic, who's been unbeatable. Barrage was in group with them, not able to punish them. Only the first game where it's, arguably Fnatic's fault they got to that point even. And Nordavind obviously looked way better against Monster, not in the first game when they lost, but when in the 2 games that they won, they looked so much better. So I understand why the predictions are coming through, and me and Jake are just going for a bit of an underdog here too, I think.
See, I was going to say that for Barrage, but then everyone said they're going to out me that I chose them for a meme. So
Did you, scoundrel? Did you choose them for a meme again?
Be honest.
Be honest, scoundrel.
2 memes make a legit choice. So that's what I'm going to say. And with that, I'm going to leave it here. We are going to a quick break. When we're back, we'll have that draft for the first game in our series.
I've been a restless sleeper lately, been squirming around in my sheets, tying myself up in knots and in dreams of you. Ooh. And I've been feeling uneasy lately. There's an illness creeping in, raising hairs up on my skin. Oh, when I think of you, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you are around. Yeah, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. I feel the rhythm of my blood pumping through my veins, feel the flutter in my heart like a bird in a cage. I got a fever. Yeah, I got a fever. You could be thinking of me. Maybe I've been hoping when your eyes meet mine, they're not just looking through me. Can I just say your smile is contagious, and I've caught it now. Is there an illness creeping in, raising hairs up on your skin when you say my name? Yeah, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you are around. Yeah, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. I feel the rhythm of my blood pumping through my veins, feel the flare of my heart like a bird in a cage. I got a fever. Yeah, I got a fever. I got a fever. Ooh, got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. Yeah, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. I feel the rhythm of my blood pumping through my veins, feel the flutter in my heart like a bird in a cage. I got a fever. Yeah, I got a fever. I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. Yeah, I got a fever. I'm hot to the touch when you're around. I feel the rhythm of my blood pumping through my veins, feel the flutter in my heart like a bird in a cage. I got a fever. Oh, I got a fever.
as they are getting zoned away. This might be the miracle I was asking for. Energy finds the kill. The Infundum came up clutch. Ever never not out of it. Eva gets 2-man knocked up. Chrisberg goes godlike as he finds himself a double kill. That's a big shuffle from Stebex. It's taken down. A triple kill for Chrisberg. And Unforgiven is zoned away. Back to Baron for Nordovin. As well as Tech Alpha attacks the Atlas suplex. Able to jump over and hook for the minions to get away Ericsson. That was gorgeous. Actually looks to catch him out for the moment. Chrisberg able to secure one. That's another one. Stevex is going to go down. Bebop's able to secure that one, and it's a double kill. Max D jumps. Takes this, trying to pump the damage out of the package. Gets dropped by Stenkus. He is so low, though, as Takes there is flashing away towards his tower, towards safety. It's a triple kill onto the Corki.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC. We're heading towards draft for our first series of the day. It is Barrage versus Riddle. I am going to I'm going to sort my microphone out. Don't you worry. I'm going to hand it over to the rest of my desk to basically do my job while I sort my microphone out.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. This is going to be Riddle versus Barrage, and we're very shortly going to be running into the picks and bans, or as Scoundrel would say, we're just about to dive into picks and bans for Riddle versus Barrage. And I feel like there is some specific blueprint that both teams need to follow in order to win here. I feel like for Riddle, you need to give your solo laners power. I just really, really, really want to see, the Twisted Fate. Scoundrel, you really throw me off here, man. Come on. I want to see the Twisted Fate going in for Suncax, but if you go on to the other side for Barrage, I want them to ban it out because it's been such a huge playmaker for the particular player. There you go. That's all you, Scoundrel. That's all you.
I think I'm good now. I think I might be good.
That's perfect, but you're not allowed to talk yet. We're still going on here without.
We're not allowed to talk yet.
You come back now, not you.
Apologies.
I think what Trouble is saying is also just emphasizes what we have talked about, what these teams are going for.
Thank you.
They have been extremely solo laned, reliant, both of them, and that's why I think it's specifically these two teams going against each other is going to be so interesting. Because on the side of Barrage, recently they have relied heavily on Dreedy and on Yadron to perform and get well into the mid game, and the same can be said for Riddle, who has relied heavily not only on Sencox, but also on Duxie. So the interesting part here is these two teams going against each other. I believe that Barrage is not able to beat the individual solo laners coming out from Riddle, but I do believe that they might have a chance at the bottom lane instead.
And that's what I wanted to touch on. My boy Punchy, I meant Denvoxne and Nightmares have looked extremely strong. Denvoxne has been popping onto these kinds of performances. And if you go over to Riddle's side, they really struggled in the best of 3. They couldn't play passive, they couldn't play aggressive, they couldn't play in a favorable lane. And at the end of the day, in the best of 3, they resorted to comfort, and they couldn't actually perform on that either. Now, of course, anyone can have a really bad series, a really bad best of 3. So I really want to see Ray and Wendelbo come back stronger here and actually challenge Denvoxne Nightmares.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to see that in the draft. I do believe when they gave someone like Ray and Vendelbo a bit more of the kind of like the global impact where they could just facilitate and support their solo laners, that's where they had that success versus Fnatic. You give them something with more agency, especially something like the Vayne. It didn't work out maybe the way that they were hoping for. Already into the ban phases, Dreedy being targeted out a little bit here with the Camille ban, Twisted Fate taken off the board, which has obviously been a very influential pick throughout our NLC matches so far. And again, actually some real thought going into the bans. What I have noticed is that actually first 3 bans generally get rattled through pretty quickly by most of our teams, but some genuine thought coming in here, some pause for Riddle and Barrage, and they're going to take the Ezreal off the board.
See, that is something I didn't necessarily wanted to see by Riddle. Due to the fact that their bot lane has been struggling, Ezreal tends to be one of the safest ADCs that you can leave down bot lane. You can roam, he stays safe, he doesn't die, he trades well, he plays good in the mid game and the late game as well. And it would be a very easy first pick for the side of Riddle. Now, what that does tell me here is that possibly Riddle want to create chaos with the bans. That's very worrying, and potentially pick something that's a surprise for us as first pick here.
I think the interesting part here is that by banning this Ezreal, you can really get behind the mentality of Riddle right now. They believe that they are the better bot lane, and it seems like they will just play it head on instead of going for the Ezreal instead. Karma obviously left open, huge flex pick coming in, really good at getting priority down in the bot lane too, if that is what you're aiming for. So I can get the mentality of Riddle here, but them removing their own Volibear too, that Maxi has been so prominent on too, is quite interesting. So I think it's going to be a quite funny series already going by the bans. One thing I quickly want to mention is that Ray tweeted yesterday that he completely inted it and he's ready to be reborn today. So maybe Riddle reborn in bot lane too will go on.
Ooh.
Oh, I was about to say Sona Luck's still available, but I don't think it's a kind of bot lane that either of these teams would go for immediately. But this is a very Den Voxnay pick. The times that we've seen him really pop off as an AD carry has been on the Kai'Sa. He's really had some stellar performances on this particular pick. So they're going to prioritize at a very high level alongside the Nautilus.
I think what Barrage is expecting here is for the Riddle bot lane to go with a Caitlyn. It really punishes Kai'Sa in lane, and it's also really hard to dive in the back line together with the Karma as well. You're going to have to commit. By Barrage picking both Kai'Sa and Nautilus, they're showing here that they are ready to commit onto the full dive to try and reach the Caitlyn. There she is.
And I was expecting. I'm not even joking. I was expecting the Caitlyn. I genuinely was expecting the Caitlyn.
Okay.
And they lock in the Misfortune. That's out there. That's out there. We haven't seen much of that actually over the course of the entire NLC. Really, we saw loads of it last split, by the way,
That's a
during the
Chrisberg
UKLC
pick.
and the Nordic Championship. Yeah, it was a Chrisberg pick. It was definitely a Chrisberg pick, but. They're going to go with safety. I would not be surprised with the Orianna or an Azir as a blind pick. We've seen it quite a lot, and the Orianna blind pick is pretty good, so they're just going to lock that in. And I imagine if Jadrin wants to get his hands on a matchup now, he has the option to before the second ban phase comes through.
One thing we could see is obviously his Syndra, but I mean, let's
Okay,
just
right.
forget the Syndra and go straight to the Yatron Classic. He's going for his Kassadin. Now, yes, it's by far his best champion in solo queue, and he looks monstrous on it. But competitively, he has not performed on this champion yet. I would have loved to see the likes of Syndra on some of the other things that we have actually seen him have success with. But I mean, if there's a place he needs to prove us wrong, it needs to be today, because I mean, there's not a lot of chances after this, right?
So here's the deal. You're going to have to start thinking if you're Riddle, these guys want to dive me. The Cassidy will be diving the backline together with the Kai'Sa. You've got the Nautilus for the engage. And this is why I said the Caitlyn could potentially be a lifesaver for Riddle, because you're a very long-range champion. You've got the E, your safety net right there to get further back. So if Barrage commit, they're going to have to full-on commit to reach you wherever you are. Misfortune is so much easier to catch. If you misstep, you get instantly punished. If Ray is picking Misfortune on purpose here, that means he really is into him being reborn, and he's feeling it.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, sorry, go.
What's also happening here is that it seems like they're actually prioritizing attack in Flipper here. With the bans coming through, a lot of the junglers don't have a lot available for them, and at the same time, they would have to blind pick on a Barrage. We have seen Flipper play this one before, and they had success with it when they paired it up with Den Voxnay's Kai'Sa too. Now, Maxi will know what he's going to go up against, but I'll tell you what, I don't know how you play against Iron. I don't see this champion enough to know what specifically counters are, but they are going with the Kha'Zix, who we have seen him play yesterday, but it didn't really perform. They won the game, but it's not because you were looking at him and went, oh my god, that's a beast on Kha'Zix. And then we need a blind pick on Doxy. We've seen Nah and on or anything like that is something that he has in his arsenal to pick up here too.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I feel like it's going to be a gangplank?
Yeah, and Gangplank blindside is fine. Obviously, they're lacking a little bit of frontline. Renekton is a pretty solid blind pick top laner. It's the pick that they used to beat XL off stream a few weeks ago, by the way, where Doxy went something like 8-0. So, he's a confident Renekton player. And actually, speaking volumes to how important the solo lanes are. Like you said, Trouble, we don't want to see the Maokai. We want to see, a bit more of an impactful solo lane pick. And this is what Renekton can do. And imagine that. Dreedy is going to take one of Doxy's best champions straight up against him in the top lane.
I was going to say that the reason why Renekton worked so well was not because it was a blind pick. It was specifically picked into a Camille, which is a horrible matchup for Camille to play out in the early laning phase.
If she wasn't banned, Gulbo.
Yeah, but that's it. It's because he said that last time he had success with it. He had success with it because he was
right.
put into Camille. This is a blind pick Renekton, and there's a lot more counters coming into it. And I think it would have benefited better with a blind pick on or anything if you needed the front line, because it's way more reliable. But with this, you're saying we're going all out on individuality. We want to outplay in the top side instead, and that's why he goes with the Renekton instead.
So here's the thing, this is a full-on, we're gonna dive you and kill you from the side of Barrage. Usually when you play these compositions on the initial dive, you need to see a big burst or someone dying from the side of Riddle. Riddle have double shields from the Karma and the Orianna. It's going to be extremely hard to kill someone like Kha'Zix, who also has invisibility, and the Renekton, who has a lot of sustain and HP on him, and together with the Death Stance, you can understand what kind of menace he is going to be. I feel like it is going to be, again, on the top side of the map. It's going to be Dreedy versus Doxy here. Dreedy does have the upper hand. He has the range versus melee matchup, and I feel like it's going to be up to him.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. Like you said, I think the key to success for Riddle has generally been through their solo lanes. If they can make that work this time round, and maybe they'll be able to undo Barrage in this first game. We have a special guest caster today coming from, definitely a worse region. It's Chronicler and Orcs. They are casting our first game.
Welcome. Thank you for that throw, ex-scoundrel. I always appreciate when I get flamed before we get into Champ Select, but I'm mostly happy to be reunited with you, Dan, because it's been a while, and you've left a lasting impression on my heart, and very excited to see if these teams can do the same thing, as we will be shortly getting into Riddle versus Barrage here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not completely convinced by the drafts honestly coming out, but I can kind of see the thought processes. I think I'm looking at the Misfortune compared to the Caitlyn, and I feel like that's an interesting one to discuss, because I think objectively the Caitlyn is better, but one of the big issues we had yesterday was when Riddle tried to play for their bot lane. I think if you pick Caitlyn, you're forced into playing for the bot lane, and then the end result is when your bot lane's not performing, it's going to go badly. So for me, for Riddle, this really feels like they're going to have priority bot lane, priority mid lane, allows Maxi to do what he wants and potentially play towards Doxy in the top side.
There's a couple of curveballs here, and I think we saw the early priority on the Kassadin. Now, Kassadin, of course, notoriously inactive in the early game, although the Electrocute should help there a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about this Ivan, because it is something that is kind of at the cusp of the meta, but it's not something you actually see picked very often. I know we have one trick or two in my home region where it's always banned, but outside of that, it's never really picked.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not really picked up too often because essentially, like, if it's forced in the group situations, in skirmishes, it can strengthen other champions, but if, it's not super ideal in the 1v1 compared to, like, the really strong skirmishes, like a Volibear, even a Kha'Zix will decimate it. But it's really good in those group scenarios of setting up your carries and buffering them even more. I mean, you have the likes of a Kassadin and a Kai'Sa. You make them even stronger. They're going to be able to do a lot of work. And obviously the invade and the defensive play potential from an Ivern is huge, because it's very hard to smite steal away from him. Now, DC obviously does prize Ivern, just start his camps by himself, and that allows Dreedy to go pretty aggressive, get some vision down here, and also annoy Maxi. So they have information there on where the Kha'Zix start. Should be able to track him a decent amount in the early game.
Yeah, we have I think a little bit of a ping issue with Discord specifically. I hope that I'm sounding good to you, Dan. Can you hear me properly?
You always sound good to me. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, very good. Because you sound a little bit like you've come straight out of an 80s movie for me, but hopefully that will be fixed shortly.
Fortunately, obviously, going to the stream, hopefully we still sound fine there, and yeah, they can hear your beautiful voice.
I'm glad. Now, let's take a look at what we expect from the early game here. We did see Maxi go for the Electrocute. I feel like with the Kha'Zix, there's a couple of routes you can go, as we see Dunvoxney and Nightmares really getting pushed in there early, as expected, against a lane with a strong prio, as Ray and Wonderbow are on the Karma and the MF. Now, early attention here. We already talked about the fact that Kassadin might have a little bit of a rough go. Dreedy already taken low against the Renekton as well, and press the attack Renekton will do that to you. What then? Foxy and Nightmare still level 1 here. Finally ding 2.
Yeah, I mean, they're just heavily being pressured here. The wave's now going to crash. Potential for this one to bounce back and put them in a vulnerable position here. But for now, you can see already, if you look towards the bottom side of the map, 3 members of Riddle pushing aggressively to try and force Vision and force Flipper away. This bot side scuttle is being incredibly hard for him to contest, so I think likely he's going to move towards the top side scuttle, but his lanes aren't in a position to support him there. So realistically, if Maxi wanted to, he could double scuttle him in this scenario, but he will just commit down to that bot side scuttle. Doesn't necessarily capitalize on the priority he has both mid and top lane, and we can see Doxy really putting some pressure down onto Dreedy in this matchup.
And it's, of course, a matchup where you need a little bit of time. Now Maxi is making his way over to that topside scuttle, but Flipper is leisurely walking away, having already secured that, of course, with the instant take you can do with the Ivan. And that's a painful double up then Voxney takes there. Very, very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I mean, this just is not a fun lane matchup, and it's... If a mistake comes out from Riddle, they can potentially all in sooner, but realistically, until Barrage hit level 6, they're not really going to be able to do too much to stop this pressure coming out, and it's a real pain because right now the CS discrepancy isn't big, but the Voxney is so low, he's going to have to reset here, and this means he's going to end up missing a big part of this wave. I think they can just take a plate here, cash in on that, and Rai's going to be able to pick up a really nice item, and I think another thing to sort of distinctionize... that's not a real word, but whatever.
It's good enough, I'll take it.
The misfortune from the Caitlyn is the Caitlyn does tend to struggle in that mid game, whereas the misfortune, she's pretty strong in every single item spike. We are seeing all in here.
And Jadron immediately needs the flash as Maxi found his way behind. Not sure what Flipper was doing there, walking up. Nightmare's currently being hidden. Doxy moving in aggressively here, doesn't know that Nightmare's is there. Flipper shielding himself and making his way out. At least has released a little bit of pressure for Dan Voxney in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it means that Voxney can head back. Obviously, the reset comes in from Riddle quite slowly. They did obviously stay long enough to try and get that plate.
Oh, no, Nightmares. But he stood there for a little bit as well.
I didn't actually catch what happened there.
He was standing in an Ivan brush and then it disappeared.
Oh.
But he was still standing there.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
It's very unfortunate. I thought it was keep
like
play.
Drax. If he stands perfectly still, then he's invisible.
It's the ultimate hunter. You'll never see him.
Exactly.
Oh, Nightmares.
This could be the opportunity to punish.
And is
he sniffed something.
Yeah, Wendelbow. He knew there was some fishy business going on. Nautilus, of course, coming from the deep sea, maybe a bit of a lingering fragrance as we now see the push is found by Dan Voxney and Nightmares. Need to be careful though. Pivot comes through here. Wonderbow goes aggressive. Doesn't find the tether. And Ray and Wonderbow can't trade too long in this wave. Hook comes through. Teleport immediately channeled here. Exhaust has already gone down. Natma's going for a lot of damage on Wendelbow, but there's still so many defensive summoners available here. And that will be the end of Nightmares. That is first blood picked up for Ray.
Just really perfectly played the timing from Senkux to immediately start channeling the TP. Looked like a little precarious position potentially for Riddle's bot lane, but they knew they had the backing of their mid laner. Now, they were looking to set up a freeze in this situation, but with the kill onto Nightmares, they're looking to instead contest this dragon potentially with Flipper. Now found a route in.
He does find a route, meaning he can dash towards, but then Voxney goes low, gets blown up by Ray. Nothing he can do there to press the attack misfortune this early in the game. Just too big of an issue. Flash exhaust already used in the earlier play. And Barrage are not doing well in this early game. With the Drake also going the way of Maxi, who, with those Q buffs that came in recently, is not going to have even the slightest problem to pick up that early Ocean Drake.
Yeah, as a full support of the team in this situation, Flipper is looking to potentially move over, but you're down a member. Then Voxney still walking back to lane. It will just get picked up. Nice Ocean Dragon to start off the game for Riddle, and obviously getting the early kills on a Rai has put him really far ahead. Just an overstep from Barrage. You saw Dan Voxney opting to dash in using the route from the Ivan. Got himself a little bit too close to that scenario. Now we are seeing a distinct gold advantage for the entire bot side of Riddle, and with that Dragon being picked up, potentially could swap to the top side for the Herald, but instead they're actually moving back down to the bot lane. So trying to keep this 2v2 alive for as long as possible. There was a potential that Barrage were actually opting out of the swap in this scenario so that they could avoid being locked in a 2v2 for longer, but it looks like Riddle are not about to let that happen.
It's pretty interesting. We see the push coming through here. Then Voxney and Nightmares now opening up the possibility to go for a roam themselves, as Jadron is continuously taking damage from Senkux here. Also a sizable CS difference in both the mid and in the bottom lane here for Riddle, and not to speak of the fact that the Ray currently sitting on 2 kills. And we're 8 minutes in, and already we're seeing a 1k gold discrepancy, Dan. That's not what you want to see. And don't forget, this Kai'Sa Nautilus bot lane was first picked here by Barrage.
Yeah, they prioritized it, and I mean, ideally, you want to hit that level 6 point and be strong enough to go 2v2 heads up against the bot lane, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to at this point with the item discrepancy, so a little bit of a rough one. And again, mid lane, you rely on the casting scaling up. Top lane is going fine, but it's not like your Nas exactly been able to do anything relevant to find a lead over Doxy, so ultimately, Riddle getting the early game they wanted. Things starting out pretty strong for themselves. They are now looking towards the Herald. They know Jadran not in a position to really contest this one. And they've actually not even opted into the swap to go for this. They're happy to keep the 2v2 alive. Bot lane, Ryan Wendelbo continuously applying pressure. And it looks like with Flipper's position on the map, they're not even going to try and match this Herald.
Now then, I am a simple man. I see a Kassadin, and I know what's up. I know what Jadran wants to do. The question for me is, are they ever going to reach that stage? Because I feel like a pre-10 minutes gold lead of 2k, a Rift Herald and an Ocean Drake already being picked up, more plates at the picking, an inability to go for any all-in play on the bot lane. Are Barrage going to fall so far behind that we're never even going to see the Kassadin come online here? Because I know it's early, but this big a discrepancy this early is quite worrisome.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And I mean, that's going to be the big question.
That's a clear answer. It is pretty bad, man.
Yeah, it's not optimal.
No.
I would go as far as to say it's suboptimal.
It could be better, yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Barrage are now in a position where they have to watch what happens in the next few minutes of the game.
Oh.
That's really going to dictate things.
Oh,
because with the Herald available to Maxi, that is where they can really start racking up a big gold lead. 2,000 is significant, but if you keep it at that level for a sizable time, it's not really going to change the game. But if we start seeing, next dragon picked up by Riddle, possibly the one after that, we see some towers go down with some plate, that is when the game can fall quickly out of Barrage's hands. So they really need to find a way to stabilize is the critical thing.
Because we're now 10 minutes in, stabilized, nowhere to be seen. Jadran gets shockwaved. Root does not find Sencux, and I don't think they'll have the damage with the casting already this low. It's going to be push here for the mid lane turret. They put down the Rift Herald pretty early, meaning that we're probably not going to see the immediate execute. Bulwark will come in here. Maybe a little bit too early, but I can imagine they don't want to take the risk. Pick up the plates, and the gold lead now gone to 3k. And I was just about to ask you, Dan, what do you need to do as Barrage? Like, what gold lead is still acceptable? As 3D goes back in on Doxy, he has a full Fury bar, takes him very low, and that Call the Meek is more than enough. Doxy doesn't have dominance available, doesn't need it.
Close there, but is able to stay alive thanks to healing coming in. And ultimately, yeah, I mean,
Dan Voxney uses the Killer Instinct defensively, is able to flash away, but there comes the bullet time. End of story. And then this game is going downhill very, very fast. And I am starting to reconsider my prediction that Barrage might take this.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty rough. And you asked me what the Barrage need to do, and I can very simply point it out. Not bad. You need to be stabilized, and you can't be dying in your 2v2, 1v1 matchups. You need just to be able to pick up farm, and then finding a numbers advantage is the critical thing. If you find avenues whereby you can have 3 members against 1, 3 members against 2, that goal difference isn't as relevant. But ultimately, if your Gnar is being solo killed by a Renekton under tower, and if your AD carry is just getting caught up by the enemy bot lane, that is not stabilization. That is things getting vastly worse. And I mean, if this was Barrage rolling down the hill, they're going full speed by this point.
I would even go as far as to say that it is like not stabilization, it's full on tilting over without getting into too many battleship analogies, as there goes the first turret blood over to Riddle, who are very clearly not content with giving Barrage any time. They're just going to say, we're going to pick up every objective that is currently on the map. We're going to maybe go into your jungle, take some control there, because look at those vision lines that are being set up in the bot side. 3D does go in there on top of Doxy. They find the stun lock. Flipper finds the root. Daisy is called, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. But the arrival of Nightmares should be enough to lock up that kill. Call the Meek keeps him alive for a little bit, but in the end, it will not be enough. And it is a faint glimmer of hope that is picked up here for Barrage.
And that's exactly what you need. You need to be trying to do something across the other side of the map and finding the numbers advantage. You get a 3v1 against Doxy, he does go down. You're still losing stuff out on the bot lane, but at least you're getting something in return. Whereas before, you were just losing across the map. So it is a glimmer of hope, but we need a lot more than that before we can really say that Barrage are into this game. Because right now, I'm looking at the CS differences between the mid and bot laners is pretty massive. That's rough to see, I'm going to say, by all means.
It's not good, then. It is,
especially this new Kaiser build that's coming out, that you go the straight Dirk into the Essence Reaver. It's expensive. You know, you don't have the same cheap mana immune that you can just pick up and then start stacking. Your first item is the same cost as Rise, and he's already got his, and you're still working towards it. So definitely a rough spot for Barrage. They just need time, but the question is, are they going to get it? And are Riddle going to keep giving them opportunities? But I don't think they're going to.
It doesn't seem like they would. Now, if you look at Barrage, it is the type of composition where you can never really count them out, just because the fact that funnel some gold into Jadron, you know, you have the Ivan available to get those pop-offs if ID or Kai'Sa or your custom do get fed. But with how far behind they already are, it seems like it's more up to Riddle to mess up than it is the opportunity for Barrage to really find something here, because a 6, I mean, it's 5.5k, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be 6k soon. Gold lead at this point in time is something that you have to try really hard to give away. And from what I've seen from Riddle this far, they are not a team that will do something like that very quickly, as Dreedy gets collapsed on here. Will be dove as the wave makes its way onto the turret. Flipper wants out, but he's found by Maxi. And that is a very, very sad knock.
Just keep running.
Just keep running. He gets away for a little bit. He's getting close to a full rage bomb. Might evolve here, and that keeps him alive for a little bit longer. So Dreedy really doing as much as he can. And meanwhile, Sankux is getting dove by Jadron and Nightmares, but the damage just isn't there yet. Castellan only level 10. Level 1 Riftwalk is not going to do nearly enough. He's actually going to teleport out. We thought he was dead, but Dreedy does it.
Makes the getaway. And I mean, the thing is, that entire time that fight was going on, Voxney was just picking up farm bot lane. He's actually managed to close a massive gap in terms
of worth. That's worth it.
Absolutely. I take it. That is the sort of situation you want where Riddle commits too much and they don't get what they're looking for. They'll still be able to translate this into a Herald here, but suddenly Voxney has got a ton of gold in his pocket. And yes, it was a 6,000 gold lead, now looking at 5,000. So a significant gap closed. Not enough for me to sort of say, okay, Barrage are back in this game. But
no,
you repeat that, 10 or so times, and maybe we're looking at a Barrage who have some...
I mean, don't exaggerate. If you do this 3 times, you're probably... No, you're not fine. It's 15 minutes in. It's a very big gold lead, although Ray should be careful here. Can't disrespect Dreedy. Although having Wendelbow in the general vicinity is very helpful. Nightmare's also making his way over to that top side. And they are currently standing in the shadows, waiting for perhaps an overextension. Maxi, however, also waiting. Nightmare's does find him there, does hit the dredge line, but doesn't want to go in further. Then Voxney not really hitting those spikes. Because if this was late game, you might have seen Killer Instinct in, but at this point in time, they just want to chill.
Yeah, and Riddle shouldn't go for this one, because if we look towards the bot lane, there's actually a massive wave that was pushed in by Doxy being missed out. So there's a ton of farm actually just going to waste for Barrage. This was a stacked wave, and it's just died out, and no one from Barrage was able to pick it up. So before, I was praising the fact that Voxney was down bot lane, picking up farm and nothing happening. This time, Riddle play it slow. They build up a massive wave bot lane. Barrage actually miss out on it, and then they still get the tower top, because eventually Barrage have to respond to the waves pushing on the side of the map.
It's currently a good 6.5k gold lead again, Dan.
Yeah, they made the smart move, and then it instantly bounced back, and now they're in a rough position again. Third dragon. But Doxy might be caught out.
Very deep here. Does a walk into Nightmare, so we'll be able to lock him down. And that's going to be a free kill on Doxy on Jadron, which is what we wanted to see. Now, Barrage will have an extra man, and delaying that saw point would be absolutely pivotal to them. You can't really allow Riddle to walk over you like that. Maxi is still alive, though. Damage is coming through, and doesn't look like the Kha'Zix is going to be anywhere near this. They're going to try and go for an alternative smite. A lot of burst comes through, but the smite is found there by Flipper. And this is actually kind of looking up for Barrage. You know, it's comparatively because Maxi is putting their Rift Herald, they're getting charges, they're expanding their gold lead. But this is, I think, as much as you can do at this point in time as Barrage.
Yeah, I think if Barrage lose that dragon, things become extremely difficult. But even them getting the dragon doesn't result in a good situation. Like, the pick on Doxy was really good. I like the managed to catch him out when he's rotating, stop him from flanking, as Doxy often loves to do on the Renekton. And then getting the dragon, obviously great, but Riddle respond with that tier 2 tower push. They're still massively ahead in terms of gold. And ultimately, that is the thing with having a lead in terms of dragons. Riddle don't need to take these dragons. You know, if they do, it pushes towards the soul win condition. But if they don't, it doesn't exactly change the state of the game. One Infernal Dragon isn't going to suddenly make Barrage win.
Oh, no.
The extra gold they picked up is to be sniffed.
Oh, no.
And,
oh,
yeah,
he wants that solo XP. He is also very, very dead. I thought he might go looking for the turn, but Maxi with a really, really nice camouflage there is just going to bait him right into him. And that is going to be even more gold donated to Riddle, who are looking very, 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 very good in this game. And I'm starting to get worried, Dan, because I was very, very enthusiastic about a reunion.
Yeah,
and it's
short-lived. Short-lived.
Yeah, if it continues like this, it's not going to be a very long reunion.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Now, at least we have some hope. I've seen compositions before fall behind like this, and I'm like, it's just over.
It can happen.
But they have the Casa win, right? He's currently level 11. He's working towards having that Saras available and stacked up. Still a long while away, but we hit that level 16 point. If casting gets to 3 items, there's potentially a hope. I'm not going to straight out say there's a hope. There is potentially a hope. We'll have to see what state the game is. But I mean, again, they did pick up that dragon. It does mean that we're not dealing with soul in 3 minutes. So that is at least something. But right now, Riddle continuing to apply that pressure here.
Oh, that's a painful double up. As the shot comes through, Flipper gets taken down immediately. And the bullet time is going to seal his fate. Now, Nightmare's Aftershock procced, but has to get out as well. And this is how far ahead Riddle is. They don't have to care about you having a 3-in-1 squad hidden in an Ivan brush. They can just walk under it and kill you.
Yeah, and that was a lot of damage. You know, I saw the misfortune just chunked Voxney, and then Flipper just gets exploded. And realistically, at the moment, there's no one who can endure that. Even the tankier members like Druidi and Nightmares just get absolutely shredded by Riddle at the moment. So a really scary game to be playing, because one lost team fight could be devastating for Riddle, especially with Baron now on the cards. Still 2 minutes away from the next dragon, though. Question is going to be, how are Barrage going to approach this one? Because yes, they got the last one, but realistically, that came off the back of a pick. If you don't find a pick in these scenarios, if you don't find that numbers advantage, I don't think they're going to win the straight 5v5.
Just find the pick, Dan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care how you do it. Just find the pick. All jokes aside, with Riddle at the point where they're currently at 10 minutes, we said, what do you want to do here as Barrage? The answer was, don't fall further behind. And they fell further behind. We're currently looking at a solid 8.5k gold lead, meaning that a contest here is just realistically never going to happen. It shouldn't work, and that means that it is going to be a Infernal Drake getting picked up here shortly, because all you want to do here as Barrage is just farm those waves, hope your base doesn't get cracked open, and take it slow and wait for a mistake to come through as we see the gold leads here. I want to particularly look at the bottom mid lane here, Dan.
Yeah, speaking of mid,
that is
speaking of bot lane,
that was Dan Voxney. He was very far behind. He will be even further behind, as he has not really had a chance to make an impact. Nightmares is just going to flash over the wall, which we all knew was coming, but that doesn't make it less sad. And Jadron has decided that the only thing that is possible now is try and go for a kill on Raya, which doesn't really work out. Gonna riffle back over the wall, and I feel like this game went from somewhat manageable to extremely out of control in a fairly rapid pace.
Yeah, I feel like Barrage just haven't really been given any breathing room. Their only real victory was the dragon they picked up, and now Baron's been started. I mean, they know it's going.
Okay.
They saw Doxy go over.
So, does Flipper go for the flip here? Does he go and try to take the 50-50? I mean, yes, he has to.
The game's doomed otherwise.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe they go for Drake, but Drake is still a little bit a while away, and Flipper has to flash, meaning that that is not happening. They do find the hook, though, on top of Wendell. Both and Foxney walking into a bullet time. It's not enough. Jadron gets taken down immediately by Maxi, and that is the damage dealer's gone. Only Dreedy's still alive. And if you don't have Kassadin and Kai'Sa in this composition, you're not going to make it. Flippy gets taken down. And if the Baron wasn't down just now, it is going to be taken down, as it starts out as a nice pick, but any extended fight is never going to go the way of Barrage here. 10k gold lead now. And Riddle say, you know what? Let's just go for Drake.
And this is definitely a rough start of the series, by all means. You don't want to come into a best of 3 and get decimated like this. And I mean, I kind of had the feeling Riddle will be coming in this one strong, having been the first team to take a game of Fnatic. It's kind of a given this team is on form at the moment, but in this style, it's just punishing. And we got to ask the questions of sort of what's gone wrong. But we will first have a little look back at this team fight, and ultimately, the engage comes out into Wendelbo, so they do find some avenue to attack there. But the bullet time really slows down the approach. You see Devoxne gets chunked, he has to use his ult just to reposition, and then Jadron gets jumped on, decimated, and Rai jumps on a Devoxne. Just the damage advantage is staggering. Like, you see so much burst coming out from every member on the side of Riddle that realistically, anyone who mispositions on Barrage is dead.
But you call it misposition, but I call it trying to do something, right? That's the
Trying
problem.
to live your life, right?
Yeah, it's not even mispositioning, Orcs. It's like just trying to do something. You'll get instantly blown up. It's a 502 misfortune here. It is a relatively well-fed Kha'Zix that currently is sitting on a Duskblade. It's a Renekton straight out of your worst nightmares. And all things considered, Barrage are going to need a major miracle to keep it alive here. Although I guess technically they haven't lost Soul. Baron hasn't been taken yet, so they hang on, which is
it's only a 10k gold deficit. It's fine. It's fine. It could be worse. It could be 20k.
It could be. And you can notice that we're also having a tough time as we see Dreedy move in. And this is kind of the problem with a game that spins out of control as quickly as this one does. And my main question is, what is Barrage thinking right now? Are they already with the head in the next game? As Maxi is gonna not get hit by the dredge line. I was already considering him to be dead, but he was not.
I think you focus on trying to make those picks, but ultimately, I feel like the head's going to be set on, okay, what needs to change the game too? And I think ultimately, you can't play in a way where you're against Maxi in the jungle and he has 3 lanes of priority. I think the Gnar into the Renekton was fine, but clearly there was a skill discrepancy there in the matchup. Definitely feels Doxy a lot more comfortable in the Renekton. The fact he was able to solo kill Drudy is massive. And obviously Renekton does have some good pushing power if he's allowed to touch the wave, but for me, mid lane was always going to be winning for Riddle. Bot lane was always going to be winning for Riddle. And it means that Maxi on the Kha'Zix is just able to take over the game. So I think ultimately the draft needs to change drastically from Barrage, because I don't think it gave them a helping hand. And I know we've seen Jadron lean on the Kassadin going into the late game, but
he's
you
level
have to
13,
survive to the late game.
It's still possible. It's only 3 more levels.
We'll see.
Set your clocks, I say, as Jadron gets blown up. Almost. Says a lot there with the redemption and the shield from Flipper.
Yeah, Nightmare's actually blocked the spikes from Maxi. Otherwise, he certainly would have died. So, pretty clutch play there. But, yeah.
Okay. Dan, this game still is technically being played, which is...
The Nexus is still alive, right?
Yes.
There's still hope. There's a casting in the game. It's just rough. And we can see
there's
the goal
an Ivan as well. But then you look at the 12.2k that
that's the thing.
Misfortune has, and you're like,
There's a lot of dive from Barrage. And if they kill, like, you think about the gold lead's 10,000, you kill, right? And that's 12,000 gold just instantly dropped off the team fight, right? So if they can kill Senkux and Rai quickly, then maybe there's a hope. If they can find a pick and force a numbers advantage, maybe there's a hope. But it's a lot of ifs and it's a lot of buts. This is still a very hard game for Barrage to get back into.
I would agree with you, but then I see the almost 12k gold Orianna that's about to hit level 16. It's gonna have level 3 shockwave and a Renekton. It's not good.
Kill them both. Just if they both die, then what are they supposed to do? You can't do damage when you're dead. So
yeah,
that essentially needs to be the game plan. It's not a good game plan.
You need to kill both Senkux and Rai in one play.
Yes. And then also win the remaining fight.
Yeah, okay. No. We don't talk about that, Dan. First, we need to focus on part
one. Step one, kill the carries, okay?
Both of them.
Let's start with that. Okay. That's step one for Barrage.
How do we get to step one? We need Jadron to hit level 16.
Right? Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's nice, but you need Rai or Senkux out of position, and you need good engage, okay?
Okay.
So whether that's Meganar, whether that's Nautilus, whether that's about it.
You are going to lose Infernal Soul, though, and that's, as far as souls go, I call it a pretty good one. I feel like everyone is good outside of, you know, the Cloud Soul that no one really likes. Kind of the...
I feel like Cloud's situational, but Infernal is just almost always great.
Oh, no.
But now they're looking mid, and
yeah, this
let's see
is
what happens.
not looking good. Engage does come through. Nightmares is tanking up a lot, actually, but Dreedy isn't in the fight. Progress don't play keep Nightmare alive for a really long time, but now Denvoxy and Flipper in an awkward position. Maxi goes in deep, and that's going to be the end of the Kai'Sa. Denvoxy gets taken down. Flipper is trying to run away, but Ivan is not that quick, as also Jadron gets jumped on. It's a double kill here for Rai, and that looked kind of okay at the beginning and then turned very, very badly very quickly, and we might be looking at a game-ending push coming through here. It looked kind of okay because they hadn't fought in, 6-5 minutes, but
yeah,
then they fight, and then we see what the actual game state is.
Critically, they missed out on step 1 off the plan.
Yeah. They did not kill Ryan Stancox.
Yeah, so I mean, as soon as that happened, I was like, this is not going to go good. But Maxi going to finish off the Infernal Soul. Now I'm okay. Barrage need a miracle here. I'm just going to be completely honest. I think Riddle could actually stay here and look to end, but instead they're going to play safe. They're going to pick up that Infernal Soul. They're miles ahead in terms of gold. It's now 13,500 lead.
Oh. Okay. The teleport on the wall.
This is the play.
This is going to be it. Jadron in the backline. They are still very far behind. Maxi is standing at the ready. Will get spotted. Jadron needs to respect the zoning coming through from the Oriana ball. Is about to walk into a very mad Kha'Zix, but they will all dodge each other. And we got a little bit excited there. Well, I don't even think it would have ended well for Barrage. No. But I like that they keep going for it. They don't get
the way I look at it, okay, is like, let's theorize. What's the percentage chance they win that fight? Maybe like 7%, probably less. It's better than the like 0.5% chance out of winning this fight, where you see just no damage is being done. Nightmares is soaking, but not able to find any route in. Jadron and Dreedy slow to approach. Then Devoxney gets caught out, slowed by the spikes. And at that point, I mean, you just know it's over. Riddle grouping up, running down together, and a nice little one here from Senkux at the end. Shockwaves over the wall in case Jadron was going to flash, and ends up with the chicken camp as a reward. So min-maxing to the absolute max there.
We got them all, and I'm having a hard time with this game, Dan. It feels like there's not a lot of options. Every option we do talk about is basically a Hail Mary at this point, and looking at the item completions, that's also fairly understandable, even if Rai does get taken down. So I feel like Riddle also knew the plan, because Rhino has a Guardian Angel. So now step 1 is not really a thing anymore.
Now you have to do step 1 twice, right?
Oh no.
It's just painful.
A member on Barrage is level 16. That's good, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, in terms of experience, they're
getting there.
No, they're really far behind. I mean, Rai is 3 levels up in Denvoxy. That is my critical issue. This is a 0-5-1 Kai'Sa.
Yes. I know, but Kassadin is
not
level
optimal.
15.
True.
But are they going to get there?
Caveat. So I said earlier, if casting gets level 16 and gets 3 items, they could potentially have hope.
It's possible.
But
he's doing the prompt. He knows what's necessary.
They are 15,000 gold down, right? And they're against Infernal Soul and a Baron.
It's possible. I say as Dominus gets
they can do it.
And they go into the base. Final inhibitor definitely going to get taken down here. Jadron hopefully trying to soak as much XP as he can. He was approaching that level 16, but I don't know if a level 16 casting is enough to withstand a 15k gold lead. Daisy gets taken down to Cupcake Heaven, and now we are looking at a possible final push coming through. Double Ear Super Minions will start flooding down the gates of Barrage, but I don't think they're even going to have the time. Level 16 now hit on Jadron. Are they going to be able to stall for a little bit longer?
If they clear the minions for the next 20 minutes, then maybe.
And there they go. Engage on Maxi. He's already taken down. That's 1.
Where'd the Fox they go?
And the exhaust comes down. Crucially, an immediate stopwatch is going to try and keep Jadron alive. They do have the Ivan, but Flipper gets blown up instantly. Jadron goes in and gets critted down. And that is going to be the end. It looked like they had a little bit of a shot there at the end. But all in all, this was a it was a very one-sided game. Hats off to Riddle for playing it like that. And as someone who voted for Barrage, that is basically my facial expression as well there.
I feel better. I voted for Riddle, so I'm not so bad. But
No, you're happy. This is a great game one.
At the end, it was like they were doing magic tricks. It's like, I'm going to make Voxney disappear, and he was just gone in a split second. I mean, ultimately, it was just a very one-sided performance from Riddle. I think the issue start in the draft. You can't forfeit priority so hard. You can't give Maxi a free game. And it really felt like Barrage were waiting for a late game that was never going to come. And with the deficits they got, felt unplayable to a degree, in all honesty. And the good news is they have another chance in our next game to get back in the series. The bad news is that potentially they have to go through that again, which I do not wish on anyone, by the way.
I do think, I'm going to be honest, if you lose a game, it might as well be like this completely one-sided stomp, right? You can clear your mental. You can go into the next game fresh and say, okay, draft wasn't it. We're going to try something entirely new. And hopefully that's going to work out for them. Whether or not is going to be the case, we will see, because we are going to a short break, but we will be right back to dive down in what really went wrong in that game.
In the twilight before the dark hour, and this time I better get it right, 'cause maybe we're all passengers on the inside. I had something nice to say, I'm thinking of that blood, that blood you are. I never wandered far, I never set my standards too low, and I never wandered far, and I don't mind, take the lead and drive me far away. You drive me far away. You drive me. When the night comes creeping in to say goodnight, and the daybreak starts within in the blink of an eye, and the dream is like a highway that never ends. I'm wanting it all to last, I'm waiting for it to pass. I had something nice to say, I'm thinking of that blood that you are. I never wandered far, I never set my standards too low, and I never wandered far, and I don't mind, take the lead and drive me far away. You drive me far away. You drive me. You drive me far away. You drive me. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care, no one can tear you down. We'll lift you up, it's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. Well,
Well, looks like my prediction went well. Yeah, that was not even close. Where do I even start? If this was a wait till 16 game, which was attempting to be, I'm just not sure where the rest of the map went wrong. Like someone talk to me about this game because I need some explanations.
I think the Kassadin pick was good at highlighting how terrible Kassadin can be in a competitive setting.
I was just about to rip you up. Right there when you said the Kassadin pick was really good.
I understand that Jadran has been really good in the champion, but we haven't seen success in it in a competitive setting. And reason for that is you forfeit all the early pressure from mid lane in the beginning. And in this meta where it's so skirmish heavy and objective heavy, it's just so easy for Riddle to just TP down with an Orianna, get a lead against the bot lane of Barrage, and then just snowball it because they are always playing on their back foot with their scaling on the side of Barrage. It doesn't make it better that your counter pick Na, who's supposed to have pressure against the Renekton, gets solo killed as well. So a lot of things in this game did just not go well for Barrage. They need to swap up a lot of things going into the next game.
I got really major flashbacks of Barrage entering the NLC, actually, where they would all pick very hard scaling picks. They would just chill back and say, it's okay, guys, we scale, it doesn't matter what we lose. Well, if you're 14,000 gold down, it doesn't matter if you're waiting for your Kassadin to hit level 16 because he can't carry anymore. You need to be even, you need to be maximum 5,000 gold down, and then the Kassadin scales so hard that he can maybe turn it around. Maybe turn it around against the Riddle that showed that they went extremely hard again in their solo lanes.
But actually, almost more than that, there was an incredible performance from Ray this time round. I mean, he was given resources. He was 7-0-2, 8-0-2 towards the end of the game. And I think I want to link back to what Gulbug said before the game. Ray tweeted, I'm gonna step up. Or I think it was Gulbug. It might have been Trouble. One of you guys said that. Basically, he said, I'm gonna step up. Yesterday was terrible. I'm gonna come back and be better. And that was a much better game. That's the kind of Ray that we were expecting to see from his previous season performance in the Nordic Championship or the UKLC. I still can't remember. Those two blur into my mind. That's why we've got the NLC combination of both.
So you don't get confused.
So I don't get confused. But that's what we expected from him. You know, that's the kind of performance we thought that he was capable of, and he's kind of pulling out when he absolutely needs to, because remember, if you lose this one, you go home. Now, Trouble, you have actually selected a play of the game for us, so please walk us through it.
This is the saltiest play of the game that has ever played in the NLC. Look at Jadran, he just thinks level 16. He's like, lights on, this is where we fight. 2 Nexus towers standing. It is not enough. I think the Voxnet dissipated into thin air from just the shockwave from Senkax. The goal difference was incredibly massive right there. There's nothing, not a level 16 Kassadin would do for you. Even a level 25 Kassadin wouldn't do for you. So it was a salty play of the game, but I think it was the reality of what happened to Barrage in this one.
And I just don't understand why they win, how they went from how we saw them against Godsend to what they did today. Because today they displayed all the issues we had criticized them for, that they had initially fixed in the game versus Godsend.
Yeah.
In the game versus Godsend, they had easy to play for top lane position. They also had Yatra and Asunda who was able to get his own lead, and the bot lane could just scale safely because there was pressure on the map and something the enemy team had to look out for. In this composition, there was nothing, and it was just a field day for Riddle.
Yeah, and I think realistically, if you look towards the bot lane, they had a really terrible time. And when I think yesterday, Voxney was a big influence in terms of how Barrage performed, especially on his Kai'Sa, putting pressure through there, seemed to undo Barrage from the very get-go. And I heard Trouble talking about it. Dreedy, I didn't know that he was a Gnar player. He didn't really pop off on it. He got solo killed by a Renekton, which is just not supposed to happen in that matchup realistically. I think Barrage, they need a full mental reset, and I completely agree. Yeah. I don't want to see the cast.
You know what they need? You know what they need, Gulbogan Scoundrel? They need that juice that Nordavin drank between game 1 and game 2 in their series. That's what they need.
Well, yeah, whatever that was, they absolutely need it because they are now facing a game where they could be eliminated from the NLC. We will see if they can reset and come back and take Riddle on and potentially push our series a little bit further. But we've got a quick break before that.
Must be dreaming, think I saw a ghost. Or was it an angel of the past that we all know? Ain't got the answers, but I hold the hope. So I'm holding on to the love, embracing the unknown. Now I'm dancing to the music. I'll just keep dancing till I lose it. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling. Yeah, it's all that I've been needing. Feel it, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, so good, good. Feel it, you're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, so good, good. get told. I ain't got the answers, I still hold the hope. So I'm holding on to the love, embracing the unknown. Now I'm dancing to the music. I'll just keep dancing till I lose it. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling. Yeah, it's all that I've been needing. Feel it, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, so good, good. Feel it, you're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, so good, good. Feel it, you're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, so good, good. Feel it, you're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling good, feel it. You're feeling Love is all we need. 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 Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. So good, good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. So good, good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. So good, good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it. You're feeling good. So good.
On a night like this, we are something special. We are. On a night like this, we are gonna make it so far, so far. And I don't know where we're going to, but I'm okay 'cause I've got you. Yes, it feels right like this, dancing with you under the stars, the stars.
We've got the second game of the series into draft here. Barrage on red, Riddle on blue once more. The bands looking exactly the same. Nothing changed up, but hopefully a lot of play is changing up from Barrage because they really need to bring their best. I do want to reiterate that there are no second chances anymore for Riddle and for Barrage, but obviously more importantly for Barrage as they are 0-1 down right now. They lose this game, they are out of the NLC. They can kiss the NLC championship goodbye and a European master spot that is on the
I
line.
thought this was going elsewhere. Okay.
I'm a professional, and everything that I do is incredibly professional, and obviously I make no mistakes ever, so I would never do anything like that. Right. Bands. It's Volibear, and then they're going to go for Karthus, so identical to the previous draft.
And here's the thing. I want to know if that was all Barrage had. If that was everything they threw out of the gate from the beginning, they ride surely on Jatron, on the Kassadin, and that's what they wanted. I hope they will show me that is not the case. I hope they will show me that they have more in their arsenal. And I like going on with this. As you have mentioned earlier, Excoundrel, then Voxner is an OG Kaden player, and he favors this champion too. They are pairing it up with a Lulu. So they are still putting the baskets, or the X down in the Voxner basket where they want him to be the carry. I hope they will back it up with a control mage rather than Kassadin now.
At this point, I don't think I even care. about a control mage. I just want to see something that spikes a little bit earlier, because I feel Yadron holds a lot of that early game power in general for Barrage and has gotten them out of very sticky situations due to the fact of his champion spiking much earlier than Kassadin.
Well,
We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised to see an Orianna. Sorry, no, I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised to see an Orianna again to just round out the draft the same way here for Riddle.
And it makes sense, right? It worked for you the first game, why would it not work now? But it seems like they're just going without Renekton instead. And I kind of understand it. They had a hard time dealing with it at the side of Barrage, especially when you had that last pick. You had the counter pick for Renekton, but you weren't actually able to put pressure behind that counter pick. So maybe it's just Riddle's skill checking Barrage here and saying, all right, Treaty, bring it. What have you got now?
I just want to mention that so far the Twisted Fate has gone completely untouched, which is something that Senkax has been first picking for the side of Riddle.
It's banned on
Completely remove what I said, because I didn't know who the hatted guy was down there. Apparently it is Twisted Fate.
Yes, that is Twisted Fate.
Just ignore me. I haven't had coffee today. Ignore me.
Smooth criminal just going under the radar here, but we're going back with the Nar pick 2 here. So they apparently it was just a skill check and they're ready for that matchup again.
I mean, they're keen, but you know, again, it's something that maybe Dreedy feels is his only comfortable pick into Renekton. I would be surprised if we didn't just get another Orianna potentially for Riddle if it's not banned away. I mean, they look like they're just going for an identical composition. Obviously, the Kha'Zix is now banned, so they're not going to have access to that. But Maxi, I think, is very flexible. We've seen lots of different styles of junglers for him across the entire split. So, you know, the jungle pick was probably the least influential in terms of what it actually offered for the composition here. I think they have lots of flexibility with what they want to do there.
How about the Syndrome and the Kassadin? Free Barrage!
Why would they ban
Why
would they ban Kassadin? It's literally a fly trap for Barrage. Like you just leave it open and they pick it, and then Barrage is just like, yes.
We
now
were
we wait.
discussing it at the end of the game. I'm like, I understand. It's Yadron's pick. It's like Kassadin. Okay, cool, great. But you have to wait for so long until it comes into play. And his syndrome was just so much more influential in the previous best of 3 that I feel like for Barrage to say, okay, Kassadin is not for us, it's going to have to be banned away. But Riddle don't mind dealing with it, obviously. So I'm like, the only way Barrage does not pick Kassadin is if he's banned.
And I feel like Barrage kind of fell into the trap here. They saw the Renekton and quickly they went like, okay, guys, we need to find someone into this Renekton. We don't want Nar to get banned because maybe 3D could just have more comfort. That means that in return, Riddle gets to remove the Syndra, which I think is pretty good removing from Yadron. And they remove the Kassadin. Still debatable after what we saw last game, but maybe they just don't want to risk it. This does still mean that they are currently blind picking their jungler, or that's what I'm assuming there. No, they're actually just going with the Orianna instead. I think this is kind of smart going in for Barrage, actually.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the better blind picks left available alongside Azir, and I'm just very happy that Jadron's not going to be on a hyperscaling pick. You know, I was actually in the back of my mind, I was like, please don't pick Vladimir. Please don't pick Vladimir. You know, so I'm really happy that they actually ended up going for the Orianna. Whoa!
So here's the deal, right? We're talking about possibly having a jungler matchup. I'm going to let you talk about the Velka Skullborg because Orianna is a very low resource mid lane. She doesn't care not getting raids and stuff. So I'm expecting to see potentially even a Graves coming in from Flipper. It would suit their composition. They have the Lulu, they have the Engage from the Nar, and they've got the Orianna with the speed ups and the shields. I just had to quickly check in case Graves was banned as well, and I'm talking about another banned champion, but he's not. He's not a Flipper champion, I get it, but it would just fit them so much.
Another champion that wasn't banned was obviously Flipper's Skarner. He didn't have access to it in the other ban rotation because it was banned in the second ban rotation. Now we get the Velkas, and Senkirks is known for being a godlike player on Void Champion specifically. I don't know what it is, but he had the nickname Void King, and that's specifically because he's so good at piloting these. Now the Velkas coming in with a lot of range is actually pretty good when you face off the likes of Caitlyn, when you face off the likes of Orianna, where you have to create space between yourself from not falling into a trap, from not falling into that shockwave. So I like that they have a lot of space to work with. I don't necessarily agree with the Riddle frontline yet, but Barrage looking like with a better draft than they had last game for sure.
I want to get your brief final thoughts here, Trouble, before I throw over to the casters. Which of these drafts are you liking more coming into this game?
I'm just gonna have to go with Riddle again. They've got the early game spikes in their hands. They're really good at playing their early game, getting their advantage. So I feel like it's a very Riddle draft.
Well, I know if Riddle go 2-0 here, it wouldn't be unexpected. I think they were quite clearly the favorites with their performance coming into this. We'll see if they can close it out. Chronicler and Orcs are going to take us through the second game.
Yeah, thank you there, ex-scoundrel. I'm really hoping that we get a longer game because I came here to cast some League of Legends, and unfortunately for the both of us, that first game didn't really resemble League of Legends outside of just the initial couple of minutes, and hopefully we can kind of get away from that then, because if I look at this draft, we see a lot of repetition, with the big change for me being that Valkos.
Yeah, I mean, in honesty, I don't even need a longer game of League of Legends. I just need, even if it was a 5 minutes competitive game, that'll beat what we had before. I just want some competition, and it's similar. I think the big change is not so much the Vel'Koz, but it's the Orianna into it. It's the fact that we don't have this cast in there, which is going to just give over so much priority. The Vel'Koz should be able to find an ability to shove in the wave. He has quite a lot of wave clear tools, but Orianna isn't too bad in return. So it's at least something that can test the priority. There'll be more of an ebb and flow in the mid lane. My concern is that you pick the Caitlyn, you pair it with the Lulu into the MF and the Karma, and ultimately means that you're going to be losing priority in the bot lane again. Your top lane matchup, you just had a scenario where Doxy was solo killing Judy. This hasn't changed. And then jungle, again, Maxi's going to have the pressure advantage because Trundle is a good matchup into the Skarner, and he's going to be able to contest that early. So I'm still concerned, but it's definitely better.
Yeah, the Lulu is something that I was kind of thrown by as well. Traditionally, the Kaden, of course, excelling in a situation where you put a AD carry that easily gets priority. Now, into Karma, it is quite hard to find something that can appropriately shove. And Caitlyn, especially after the buffs she received, also has the position of a late game carry. You know, once she hits her 2-3 item spike, she's still decently strong, and the Lulu will only augment that and maybe help her through her slightly awkward mid game. Now, that is all operating under the assumption that this game is not, again, going to be a 3k gold deficit at 10 minutes. And
yeah,
at least the pieces are here this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that there's more hope here, and they do have a strong scaling aspect to the composition. Caitlyn becomes monstrous, especially with the Lulu, Orianna, the shield, and the Skarner gets a lot of value there, but I'm still not sold. I'm still concerned for Barrage. They really need to just have a better early game. The draft is giving them more tools, but they're not in a perfect spot, so we'll have to see what can be done. Right now, Doxy really just, again, bullying Drudy out in the 1v1 matchup and challenging pretty heavily. So I think the big question mark is going to be what can Flipper do, because Trundle is going to have that early pressure. It's only really when you hit level 6 as the Skarner that you can start to have more of an impact.
Especially with the Predator that has been picked up here for Flipper. I've seen both Predator and the Conqueror being used. Of course, Skarner also on the recipient end of some buffs this patch, and what's changed a little bit recently as well, given a little bit more max health damage, but it remains a pick that at the very least will force a response from your opponent in the form of that QSS. Although I have to say, trying to run into a MF that has Karma or a Vel'Koz that is expected to be very far down the enemy backline can still be somewhat hard.
I mean, that's the difficulty, is there's so much AoE sort of team fighting ultimates coming out from Riot and Sandcooks. Like, that is enough to make things difficult, because Orianna isn't too long range. As much as Caitlyn is when it comes to AD carries, you're still not going to be able to outrange that bullet time. So you have to be cautious about that instantaneous impact of the big team fighting ults from Riddle. But again, it's a point at getting there, and we have to see how this early game will progress. For now, we've seen Flipper scouted out by this ward here, and both scuttles it looks to be picked up here by Riddle. So Maxi taking the top one, secured himself, and then the priority bot lane means he'll be able to secure that bot scuttle as well. So a massive amount of control already for Riddle, and a good start for them.
At the very least, this is looking like a slower paced game. Last game we saw the gaps between these two teams be very big, very, very early. This time then Voxy and Nightmares are able to fight back a little bit more. Kaden, of course, having a lot more power, as we do see Flipper finding out that Scuttle crap, unfortunately for him, has been taken with that full clear. Now, first backs are going to be coming through here. Flipper, of course, going to have access to the Predator, but as you mentioned earlier, until you get impaled, the Skarner not going to be the most impactful pick in the world. Sandcock's picking up some early boots to try and stay out of range of that ball, and maybe also stay out of range of a angry Scorpion that might find his way into the lane. And we gotta get back to this top lane matchup, because last time Doxy found the solo kill, and this time Dreedy yet again is seeming to have a really hard time properly spacing and staying away from the Renekton in the early game here.
And that's the strength of the Gnar. If you can create distance between you and the Renekton, you are comfortable. But if he gets into your face, he can really look to bully you. And now we're seeing potential die threatened from Maxi and Steincock. So already the advantage picked up by Riddle is just going to be amplified in this situation. Doxy denying 2 waves there away from the Gnar, really punishing.
Now, my question is, can this be answered, as Wonderboy has found Jadron there, who has to flash immediately. A lot of damage coming through here. Jadron is gonna get taken low, and that is first blood found by Sandcox using the flash there offensively. And this is starting to look an awful lot like last game, with a Dreedy who can't get even remotely near the wave, Maxi who's walking into the jungle, stealing camps, not afraid of anything, and then Nightmares not really going to be able to punish, because again, this is a Lulu. It's not the type of pick that is really going to threaten Rai in this 1v2 scenario. And now Jadron going to get taken down, doesn't have the flash available, can't walk through a pillar, and that is going to be the kill on him. Flipper now coming through, but the heal from Sandcox means the end of that play. And it is starting to feel just like last time, like a repeat, where we see just the individual gaps between these players maybe be a little bit much, as Flipper gets tattered by the Karma, Wonderboy not giving control over that Spire. Dreedy gonna have to back as well, and it is just yet again a 1 point. It's approaching 2k again, Dan.
Yep, it does not feel good. I mean, honestly, it feels like Riddle just so much more proactive in the early game, and they've given themselves the tools. They have priority in the bot lane, they have a winning jungle matchup. Mid lane, even without the Orianna in the pocket, Stenkus is able to find priority and force plays against Shadron with the assistance of the teammates. And top lane, despite the fact Nar's a fine pick and Renekton, Doxy's just smashing it. And now Barrage trying to go for this dragon. This could be risky.
Teleport comes through. That will be the Renekton making his way over. Doxy immediately on top of Flipper. He gets taken down by Coldemik. Maxi flashes into the Dragon Pit and will be able to leisurely take that Ocean Drake. Thank you for the leash. As Nightmares, Jadron, and then Voxney off to run away. Then Voxney even has to flash. Dan, I wanted a different game. It doesn't look like we are going to be getting one here.
Yeah, I mean, Dreedy literally just teleported top, and Flipper decides to start the dragon up. I don't know.
Yes.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what they expected, but I think it's pretty distinctly obvious what the result was.
To get the Ocean Drake, Orcs.
And I think they hoped to get the Ocean Drake. I think you're naive if you expected to get it. Riddle really not given any space over to Barrage in this early game, and at this point with this deficit, it's starting to feel, as you said, reminiscent of game 1.
See a triple Oran's Blade for Rai here, who's going to be stacking up on those early game stats, whereas then Voxney has gone for BF Sword, which in a vacuum feels really good on the Caitlyn, but then you look at the general game stat and you're like, well, guys, it's not really where I hoped that we would be. A difference with the last game, though, is that at least the bot lane gap is not as big as it was.
True. I mean, in honesty, compared to game 1, things could be worse, but it's not exactly good.
It's not great. Which leads me to ask that, how's your day been? How have you been? How's the weather over there?
It's pretty warm.
Yeah?
Yeah, fairly warm over here. You know, obviously it's not ideal being inside casting with lights on and stuff. Keeps it quite a bit too hot, but it's fine. My mum just recently planted a bunch of new plants, and she's away at the moment.
Very nice.
So I actually have to be the one watering them. So
are we talking flowers? Are we talking like a nice vegetable garden?
Mostly flowers. A lot of flowers, actually. Got some like little, I'm not sure what they're called, like little raised flower bed things.
That's a
like there's a lot of them, so you know. Nice. I mean, I don't mind it. It's nice giving them a little water. Ooh, nice stun.
That's the first impale. is gonna be held for a really long time, but in the end, it will be necessary to deal with Doxy, who still has a full fury bar. Need to be careful, but cooldown of Cold Meek a little bit too long, and even though it looked a little bit close there, in the end, it will be a kill being picked up by Flipper, but Nightmares and then Voxney down on the receiving end of the pressure coming out from Maxi. They pick up a kill, but they give up first turret blood, and I'd like to say that is a trade where you're like, at least we got something, but I don't really feel like that's true here, Dan, as yet again,
Yeah.
we go to a 3k gold lead. It's actually worse.
Hey, they
Last
got a time
plate.
plate.
It was 2k.
No, dude, they got a plate bot lane.
I know.
I mean, yeah, Riddle only took 5, you know? Could be worse. They could have got no plates.
Yes.
That's the way we'll look at it. Gotta have a positive mindset, right? That is what we need to do when looking at it from Barrage's point of view. We always have to scope things as it could definitely be worse, you know?
Could be. We need to. So,
They still have a Nexus, right? They
Yes,
still have
they have a
most of
base.
their towers. They haven't lost all their plates. You know, they got a plate themselves. They actually got a kill earlier. It could be worse,
the
right?
problem, all jokes aside, then, with this game is that if the gold lead gets this big, this early, the plays you need to make, the mechanical outplays, the rotations you need to find to actually have a shot at finding a fair fight, or rather avoiding a fair fight, it seems almost impossible, especially considering the one-sided way that the last game went. And Barrage, if they lose this, they are out. They, of course, had a really nice performance in their previous knockout match, but it's starting to look a lot like last game, and last game did not go over well at all.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think it's going to be difficult. And I think especially when you look at the Caitlyn, you really want to be finding an advantage in the laning phase because you hit that mid game and there is that power trap, especially against a Misfortune where essentially you're getting power from every single item you pick up. It's going to give you more damage, going to make you feel like you're in a comfortable spot. With Caitlyn, that's not so much the case. Sort of the 2-item spike is not really super significant compared to 3 items, and that is my concern.
This keeps happening. Every time we see Barrage move up, it feels like they have priority, they have pressure everywhere. How can they always 4-man roam to the lane where then Voxney and Nightmares are trying to get something done and not get punished for it, as we see Jadrin taken down solo, and that's going to be the Cloud Dragon picked up, and starting to feel like another game like last time. Wonderboy maybe a bit far forward, but he is Karma, can speed himself up and get out of that relatively easily. Now we see a 20 CS lead in the top lane. We see a 20 CS lead in the mid lane, and we see a relatively even CS, but still a big experience discrepancy in the bot lane. It's just not looking good at the moment here for Barrage, Dan. And again, I'm going to be asking you, it's 12 minutes in, the 3k goal behind, what can they do? This is the type of play that we want to see. Sandcock's not respecting the flash and peel. Beautiful play there by Flipper. And now maybe even looking towards a Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, or might be looking for another kill here.
As they do find some damage on one more bow. There comes the shot from Caitlyn. Will be doing a lot, but Doxy looking for the backline here. That's a very angry Crocodile who gets on top of Flipper. He gets hit by the Wild Growth, stays alive for a little bit longer. And now Doxy in an awkward spot is getting kited out here by then Voxney and the gang. And will get taken down, and Barrage are doing it. We wanted to see some fireworks from them, and they are making it work. Now Wendelbow getting taken low. Will get hit there by the free hit passive. Dreedy moving a little bit further forward. It's then Voxney who flashes forward. The final shot will come through from Dreedy. And Barrage are doing it.
Defining windows. Honestly, there was a good team fight, an overextension from Maxi, because initially they get a pick, and then the overextension comes from the Trundle, who's going just way too far, way too deep by himself. Doxy then comes in on the flank and gets caught out by his own pillar, but now they're looking for them Voxney.
Will get
He's fine.
shielded up.
Or is
damage
he?
coming through, but that's another ult. That is... He got disintegrated very quickly there. And unfortunately, Barrage falling into the trap of play went our way. Maybe we can find our footing in this game immediately, and immediately overstepping, getting punished. Gold lead, it did go from 3k to 2k, and at 30 minutes, that's as big of a win as you're going to find, especially with the Dragon pickup as well, as the Mountain Rift is gracing Summoner's Rift.
And, I mean, top lane isn't doing so bad in terms of goal differential. Mid and AD carries, again, we're seeing that big gap. Jungle actually in favor of Flippy here, so going to have a relevant Skarner going forwards, which means he is going to be tankier, is going to be able to go forwards, challenge for those impales, and not just get blown up instantly. We'll have to see. It's definitely more hope than last game. We may actually get a fight in this one from Barrage. Definitely a good start.
because we do see yet again a composition from Barrage that can do a lot as Dreedy goes in very big, goes there for the flash ultimate, finds two, Wendelbow and Riot both knocked into the wall, and Flipper with yet another great impale finds the play, and Barrage is actually dictating the pace of the game here, completely unlike the first game. Now they are still operating from a 2k gold deficit, but at 40 minutes, you know, it's looking a lot less dire. Last game, this got snowballed very aggressively against them, and this time they can actually somewhat hold on here.
Yeah, I mean, they're finding the picks. They're doing a good job of it, and the Skarner really lends itself well to that. Yes, they're going to lose mid-tower, but they're trading for the bot tower, and they picked up that kill advantage. So ultimately, I'm liking what I'm seeing, and Flipper has been the big proactive player who is setting this up on this Skarner. But honestly, there was a really nice ult into the wall from Dreedy, but they just need to keep chaining that together, finding those kills, and eventually leading to the team fights, because the team fighting is strong. They have a really good front-to-back composition with all the shielding and the backline carries they have available. It's just a factor of avoiding Senkux and Rai from getting some decimating ults across the team, and they could be in a good spot for this.
Because one downside that I do see here for the comp of Barrage is they don't really have a way of forcing something besides Flipper finding a big impale or a shockwave coming through. There's no Ornn, there's no Jarvan, no real big button to press. And that is something that always kind of scares me if you go into later game positions. But these little skirmishes, these proactive plays being set up around players like Dreedy and Jadran earlier are working out for Barrage thus far. And they are very much staying alive in this game. It's still a 2k gold lead at 15 minutes. But it's a completely different game from last time, and that is something that I'm personally very, very happy to see, because it was a wee bit disheartening, if I'm being completely honest with you, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, to have such a bad game one, and then the start this game had, which was not great, felt like it was going in a similar direction. They've done well to bounce back, and again, they're looking to trade cross-map. Now, Judy looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble, but he'll just pop away.
We'll be able to get
Herald
out.
is going to come down and threaten this tier 2, though, so this is where things start to go a bit more in favor of Riddle in terms of this trade.
Now, it will be a 1-for-1 trade for the turret, so gold lead remains exactly the same here. Surely not going to be able to get off a second charge here, as the wave will get picked up here, making sure not to share that XP, as we see Dan Voxney make his way over to the other way. As we can see here that there is a gold lead for Riddle, but it's stabilizing. And, I don't want to say that there's definitely like some outscaling going on, but it's playable.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Barrage can outscale pretty comfortably. I think Caitlyn outscales the likes of a Misfortune. I think the Orianna offers more than a Vel'Koz in the late stages, because eventually it's like with Misfortune and Vel'Koz in the late stage of the game, you're really relying on hitting big game teamfight ultimates to find that advantage, and it's just not going to be as relevant there. The Skarner as well, the ultimate essentially forces a QSS tax, which gives you essentially a 1300 gold advantage. And the Gnar will remain monstrous in later team fights, so some actions just tend to fall off. Flipper now looking.
There comes the speed up. Predator also used. Flipper goes very, very, very deep, but they will find the shockwave on top of Senkux, but have Jadran and Co step too far forward. Flipper will get taken down with Senkux still being alive. Doxy goes for the flash onto the backline. Then Voxney taken low. All the time, not really doing enough here. Then Voxney kiting back beautifully. And in the end, the shielding will be enough here. And now we see Barrage making way. That was very overambitious for Flipper. They will now be starting up the Dragon here, or at the very least take control of the pit. Need to be careful because Maxi is there on the Trundle, has flash available. No blast going though. And it looks like they're starting it up. I might be thinking about flipping here. Barrage, is this really what you want to do as Maxi moves forward? And we see Senkux coming in with the live disintegration rate. That's really down, and that's going to be the Ocean, or the Mountain Drake rather, getting picked up here by Riddle. But Barrage, they're making the proactive plays. They're going for the opportunities given to them. Even though it doesn't really go their way, it's a completely different image from game number one, and that's what we wanted to see.
Yeah, it was definitely an overreach, though. We'll get to see a replay here, and ultimately, it was just too far gone for Flipper. There wasn't any follow-up able to come in onto the Vel'Koz, so he does actually survive for such a long time. But then Doxy also dives deep, and the peeling, the ability to protect the carries from this composition of Barrage shows its face here, and they do manage to close them out. Actually, from that point, Barrage looked in a decent position, but the mistake they made was they overcommitted onto the Dragon. Your jungler isn't up. He's coming up soon. He needs to make his way down. You shouldn't be looking to start up the dragon quickly. You should be looking to find positioning, get more poke down onto Riddle, but ultimately they ended up making the mistake. They lose out on the dragon, and it's still Riddle with the lead. But again, as you said, this is better from Barrage. They're actually showing some life.
Have you ever seen a sports movie where they win immediately? No, Dan. There needs to be a heartbreaking loss. That was the game. The
Depends
loss
on
we
your
saw last time.
perspective, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, who did you support when you watched Dodgeball? Because if you supported Globo Gym, then they won at the start.
We see Flipper needs to dodge ball some shots there. Nightmares flashes over the pillar. Nice force that
Actually,
from
that's-
Maxi.
That's one thing to say with the Mountain Soul map. The pillars get so much more threatening because
Yeah.
it's like perfectly shaped for a pillar just to block one of those entranceways in the jungle. So, you know,
I mean, if
Mountain
you'd
Soul,
rank-
Trundle pretty broken.
League of Legends champions by elements. Like Trundle will definitely be Earth, right? Obviously,
Yeah, I mean,
Talia will
especially
be.
with this skin, you know,
Yeah.
and the fact that like the Mountain Dragons give him more resistances and he builds tank.
And don't forget the wise words of Hiprain that the world is stone. Right?
World is stone.
So actually, you know, in a way,
He has a
lot of
World
champ-
Breaker skin as well. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just perfect.
It just works on
It's almost
every
like this is
level.
planned, you know.
right? As we see them move forward, both of these teams having a lot of shield ups available with the Karma. And now Flipper looking for it yet again, goes for the chilling smite.
Ooh.
Is
He's
going to go
running.
onto Sandcucks, but won't actually find it. There comes the ultimate wild growth, has to be used, but now Barrage on the run. Need to try and get away. Dreedy flashes away from the knock-up. Then Voxney has a lot of damage, but needs to be careful. The shield, though, more than enough to keep him away from Rai. And Barrage are going for the big place. It is a free call deficit, but if they find someone and eliminate them, which Flipper is constantly looking to do, then they can still find fights on even footing.
I mean, they got the flash from Wendelbow, and Flipper
Yeah.
didn't even have his available, so that was something. It was very close. It was very precarious, but ultimately he didn't die. So you know, you'll take those. You will take those. We have dragons spawning in 2 minutes, and we've kind of hit that lull because Riddle are wanting to be proactive, but ultimately it's quite hard to break these tier 2 towers without a herald available. And on top of that, the dragon spawn is just a big thing you're waiting for. And you know, you talked a little bit about how Barrage don't have huge engage potential outside of Flipper just running at them. Neither
Well-
does Riddle, really. There's not
Yeah.
too much from Riddle that they can just say, hey, this is our go button. Realistically, they're trying to bring Doxy over to find a good angle to flank from. But other than just run at them and throw a Trundle pillar up, it's not optimal to try and force things. And so it does end up really coming down to who's overextending when these fights are opening up.
Or who's where first. And that is something that Barrage, contrary to last game, have been much more vigilant about. They contest the objectives. They have a composition that allows them to do that, which is something our analysts wanted to see. And we can also see it in the build, because Jadra not going for the slower stacking tier build, but instead going for the good old Luden's Echo, making sure that you have a little bit more damage, so you don't have to give up all these big objectives in the early game. Now, getting to Soul Point is manageable, but actually giving over a Mountain Drake might be more than Barrage can really handle. So if you don't get this one, it's still okay, but I don't think you can get away with actually giving all those free resistances and the shield over to Riddle.
Definitely makes it difficult. And we talked about the scaling advantage of Barrage. It delays that substantially. Mountain Soul, it's not something that scales massively into the later stage of the game, just because the shield, when you initially get it, is pretty big. But when you have 80 carries eventually doing, you know, 700 damage crits, it's not massive. But it will allow Riddle to have more time before they feel like they're outscaled. And that is the big concern. But now Flipper, he's hunting.
There goes the Scorpion! Finds the immediate impale, and the bullet time from Riot doesn't really do anything. That Dreedy comes in with the teleport, is
Look how
Mega
fast he is.
form, looking for the big play, chases after them, doesn't find the smash into the wall. Doxy now looking for the flank, but they've lost one of the big damage dealers. That was with flash and heal up.
It's not enough. They just speed Flipper up and he goes. And the thing is, there's not very much Senkicks can actually do in these scenarios other than hide in your fountain. And now with him down, Riddle not feeling comfortable to contest this. I mean, this is really simple.
Orcs.
You just speed up the Skarner and go, but it is working for Barrage.
Orcs, I'm feeling good about my prediction. I'm feeling better than after game one. Let's leave it at that. And
I think Barrage are too.
yeah, I hope so. And this is something that you gave them a little bit of credit for, but I want to reiterate here. Like, the ability to lose a game so decidedly in match number one and then bounce back, keep looking for the aggressive plays, keep trying to set up stuff. and it's working thus far. The combination of Flipper using his Righteous Glorious Predator with the speed up from Nightmares, with the speed up from Jadran, is proving more than Riddle can handle. And I'm still not seeing a single QSS being bought by the side of Riddle.
Yeah, which I ultimately think is a mistake at the moment. And another thing to note is Jadran being on Orianna denied it from Senkux. Imagine that same scenario, but instead of a Vel'Koz, it's a phase rush Orianna. One, you can use his Shockwave to disengage Flipper, but also so much more kiteability from that champion. Potentially Senkux could have outrun that, or at least gotten so far away from the rest of Barrage that he's no longer under threat. So realistically, that Vel'Koz, although it was able to contest the priority of Jadran, although it is able to have those big ultimates and the damage available from a longer range, it is proving to be a bit of a vulnerability into the Skarner specifically.
Now, 25 minutes. We do see that Barrage have been able to completely stabilize the game. The 2k gold lead at this point, not really a problem. You need to take it into account, but it doesn't mean that you can't fight. It doesn't mean you can't contest objectives. The Drake scored 2-2 as well. And now we are slowly getting into the point of the game where the Lulu really comes online. Well, Wildgrove is going to have an insanely short cooldown. Then Vox Ninja hitting 2 items, and the 2-item power spike, I feel like on Kaylin is always a little bit awkward, but then once you get to 3-4 items, you start becoming an absolute menace yet again. And Flipper has been feeling very good, I reckon, on this Skarner.
Yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely agree. He's been enabled by his team. They have a ton of movement speed, and when he goes for those plays, there's a Shockwave to follow up and almost instantly execute the squishy targets. And even if we do see Senkux pick up a QSS, there's still other vulnerable targets who won't have picked it up already. And the thing is, we see a 2,000 plus gold lead for Riddle, but as soon as you start investing into those QSSs, as Rai has just backed and picked up, that is now extra gold not going towards the damage. So yes, he has about a 1,700 lead over Demvoxne, but he has just spent a big portion of that on the QSS.
Something you're going to have to play around as Barrage. As Flipper, you can't really go as deep as you have previously done, especially not against Rai. And expecting Senkux to go for that fairly early as well, because he has been picking up the big cost items, right? The Oblivion Orb, and most notably the Rabadon's Death Cap. But if you don't get a little bit more survivability, that is not really going to matter with how the fights have been playing out thus far. Now, in 2 minutes, the next Drake will spawn. I don't think either team is really going to go prioritize Baron here. We do see more movement towards it coming out from Riddle, but it's not like at this point in the game either team has a really good composition for just sneaking it away, and both teams have been mainly moving around that Baron pit.
Yeah, it's about getting the vision control up, potentially setting up to look for picks around it, but ultimately right now we do see no real effort to try and start this Baron up. It is obviously something that is tricky to take, and especially with so many high impact ultimates, you don't want to be trapped in that Baron pit. Now we do see Mountain Dragon spawning in a minute 20. This would put either team on a stall point, so I expect to see a big contestation there, and I expect to see Flipper looking to make plays around it and find that pick. His flash is coming up pretty soon. That'll be available just before the Dragon is, so I want to see who he's out for now, because we have a QSS on Senkux and a QSS on Rai, so those two are no longer viable targets.
There is, of course, a chance that you just go for the more defensive play, trying to keep Doxy away from your backline, and now trying to ult a Trundle. It's generally not going to go over too well, I'd say.
I feel like at this point, you could just ult Doxy or Maxi, and as long as they're like quite overextended initially, you can ult them into your team and just destroy them. I mean, at the end of the day,
point, even Wendelbo's fine, right? Like just find someone without a QSS if they stand too far forward.
I mean, it's just a critical thing where it's like, if you just turn it into a 4v5, no matter who you're moving, it gives you a big advantage. Because the gold lead, as we talked about, it was 2,000 earlier in the game. It's actually shrunk a little bit at this point, but 2,000 is a big gold lead at 8 minutes. At 28 minutes, way less significant. You can see Flipper hunting.
Splash.
That's a splash.
He is looking a hungry Scorpion, making his way, multiple speed ups, and there you go. They do go for
onto the trap as well.
In the end, as you said, does get taken low, but will get healed up. And is staying alive for a little longer. Drady with an absolutely huge knock-up, but the damage follow-up just isn't there. Shockwave is a complete whiff. And there is a number of big teamfight ultimates now gone. Whereas the bullet time still available here.
Oh, a crit!
Crit's coming through here. Dan Voxney, scary man at this point in the game.
That's right.
Is moving forward. Bullet time there. Takes down Nightmares and Flipper. Doxy going in big. That's the Lulu gone immediately. Flipper now has used his flash offensively. That's the double kill. And it is in the end Riddle that is going to take control here. But what a tense situation we got on our hands here, Dan.
Yeah, and honestly, just missed execution from Barrage. Going for Maxi with that Impale was actually a fine call. The problem was Jadron was out of position and wasn't able to follow up with the damage, so the Trundle ends up surviving. You just invested a lot and you didn't turn it into a 4v5, and then the shockwave from Jadron missing. We had a big ult from Dreedy. The follow-up wasn't there once again, and we see Riddle able to bounce back with Rai finding a beautiful flank. Now, do you see them looking? Shockwave coming up soon. Barrage trying to stop this one.
Shockwave almost available. Here comes Dreedy. Does have the Rage Bar stacked up. Barrage is looking for a big play. Only hits Sandcox there with the damage. That's another two-man knockup. And they are tanking the Baron at this point as well, Orcs. Jaden gets taken out by the laser. Dreedy's still stuck in the pit. But now Nightmare's making his way over. Can he and then Voxney do it here? Flipper is going to be able to take the blast cone. The Dragon. Baron is a 2 good with the reset.
He's still alive!
They don't get it, but it's a double kill here for Dan Voxney. They keep the Drake of the Baron rather active. And we see the ace come through the Barrage. Have they actually done it here, Orcs?
They found a window. It's huge. The team fight is great for Barrage. It looked like Dan Voxney potentially about to go down when everyone dives on him, but critically Nightmare's there to save him. And Riddle, they overstep for the Baron and they end up getting punished. Instantly Barrage capitalize and now have the Baron in their hands. We're seeing it. We're seeing it, Chronicler. They're bouncing back and we will have the replay. But yeah, it's just great access here from Jadron, who absorbs a lot of pressure. Dreedy doing so much work on the Gnar, but it's just Dan Voxney, untouched, constantly putting out damage in this situation. And as he loses his teammates, it's Nightmares who comes in and he's able to step forwards. They all heavily commit onto him. They just don't have enough damage to cut through the Lulu protection with the wild growth, and he survives with the lifesteal at the end, and then Flipper's just there for the cleanup. And as you said, they keep the Baron leash to capitalize on that. Definitely a close one. If Dan Voxney had gone down there, maybe we could have seen Riddle coming out ahead, but they found the window back in the game, and now they finally have a gold lead in this series.
Orcs, the first time that we've seen Barrage operate on a gold lead. Now it's Riddle, who is going to be on the backseat here, and after a decimation in game number 1, it might have looked like we had a short series on our hands, but Barrage says no. We can see the gold graph there. It's stabilized in the mid-game. And then in the end, we see the small peak as the Baron power play is starting to come through. Turrets now getting pushed down repeatedly. But don't be mistaken. If Dan Voxney stands too far forward, if he gets taken down, they still have a problem. But with the amount of shielding available, and now the free item Caitlyn hitting more and more spikes, I don't know what they can do as Flipper zoning away like the scary scorpion that he is. Going to be able to do a lot of damage on the turret here. Don't really want to risk moving in too far forward. Wave will be on its way shortly. And Barrage are choking the vision out of this bot side jungle. Maybe looking to get a little bit more done. Now rotating to mid lane, picking that up as well. And the pressure from Barrage coming through is beautifully now that they are finally in control in a game.
Yeah, and they'll be able to get this bot tower as well, easily picking those up. And at this point, I mean, we look at the items that have come through. Jadron with that Rabadons, Dan Voxney now with 95% crit chance, past his sort of drop that we saw in the mid-game. Now with the Zeal 100%, they're in a really strong spot. And realistically, Riddle, I'm actually kind of concerned because the Renekton 141, he's missed his mark. The Trundle is no longer super relevant. He's down in experience. He's actually tied with support in terms of level, so not going great. And realistically, Senkux and Rai, so much of their strength is based around those ultimates. If they don't get big ultimates off, I feel like Barrage just run over the fight. And right now we see, I mean, Dan Voxney is so strong.
Those autos, that is something to behold. And I can't believe we went from a game where it was still felt like a valid choice to talk about your recently planted plans to a game where Barrage are having a real shot at taking down Riddle Hill. Now, the fight is not yet fought. If a team fight goes the way of Riddle, the time is at this point is starting to get longer and longer, and there's still the possibility to suddenly break open the base. And the same goes for Barrage. If they find a good fight here, they equalize the Dragon score as they take a mid lane prio here. Dreedy is standing there in a flanking position, looking to go for his raid bar as Flipper moves forward. He is a very, very speedy boy, but it's a little bit too telegraphed, and in the end, we will lead to kind of a stalemate here around this pit, as there we go, Flipper. Dominus is trying to keep Doxy alive, and yet again, there's not enough damage available here, but they have to use a lot of defensive summoners. We see the heal coming through, the flash from Doxy. He won't be in this fight, but will be able to teleport back. Look at this defensive setup. Dreedy goes forward, finds Maxi. That is a lot of damage coming through, but it can't engage due to a beautiful bullet time coming through from Ryan. Now Dreedy stuck in his own, and there's not enough follow-up as Raya goes forward, goes for Jadrin, who will get wild-groved. Stays alive a little bit longer. Now the kiteback has started. It's a 4v5 advantage for Riddle. Jadrin gets taken very, very low. Needs to respect the poke. Coming through, live disintegration grade comes up, but doesn't actually find enough damage. They might be looking for the flip here on the Drake. It's 30 seconds. But it is
for Riddle
still Barrage. They can't give this up as Barrage. You can't give the Mountain Soul over. It's too big of an objective. The Orianna is going to come through here with the teleport. Will be joining the rest of the fray. Don't forget a level lead here of 1 for Flipper. Dragon will reset. Jadrin hits the shockwave, but it's on himself. The steal does come through. Flipper finds it. And Barrage keeps himself in the game for a little bit longer as they find a 4v5 play. Riddle just can't seem to force. And these team fights consistently going the way of Barrage.
They just can't threaten the backline ultimately, and at the moment, Jadron and Devoxne are just stronger. The Lulu backing up Devoxne as well makes him super powerful, and Wendelbo is gone. 5 members strong now from Barrage. They're looking to push down some towers.
I'm even looking for the end here, but they do have still to respect the bullet time and the live disintegration coming out. It's a small wave. The Barrage is feeling the momentum. They're feeling themselves. They're moving forward. Turret will get taken low, but bullet time is going to clear the wave in. I think that is going to be it. I say as Dreedy moves forward there on top of Doxy. One turret getting taken real low, then Voxney will be able to find that. But Maxi now up as well. Baron is about to spawn, and I feel like Barrage just wanted to run into the hills here. Take your time, hide in the Mountain Rift Forest, and leave it at that, and just make sure that the Baron doesn't get stolen away from you yet again. But Barrage looking completely revitalized in the second game here.
I mean, at this point, they have a ton of gold to spend. They have a 4,000 gold lead over Riddle. Baron is spawning though, so they have to be cautious about Riddle starting that one up if they go for a full reset. So for now, Barrage will be holding on and trying to maintain position. Flipper over the wall, threatening. It looks like the resets will have to be cancelled. So a lot of gold in the pockets of Barrage, as you can see, that has been unspent, but they're still looking to contest this fight.
This is still a really risky play. I don't know if you want to go for this. There is finally the shockwave that we've been looking for. That's 4 people, but is there enough follow-up damage? Then Foxy moving forward. Flipper has to flash into his own team. Dreedy looking for the big play, but can't quite find it. And these fights feel a little bit disjointed every time. Now we finally see the big shockwave come through, but there's not enough follow-up damage. In the end, though, they do bully them off Baron, and it's going to be a reset coming through here from Barrage.
Should be enough to stop the Baron for now, but you can see Maxi moving over. He actually spotted out the reset from Dreedy, so they're aware that essentially the recalls came in, but they do have to defend their base, so ultimately won't be able to start it up immediately, and this does give time for Jan to respawn. Voxney's going ham!
He is so aggressive, but is standing close to the pillar. Needs to use his 90 caliber net to get back. Why do Riddle keep going for this Baron? Dan!
It's a 4v5. They're trying to force something, but it's not looking good for them.
And we see the damage coming through. The only thing you need to do here, as Barrage, is just wait. Baron is doing more than enough damage. Will get leashed here now. And now you are at even footing again. Jadrin making his way over to the rest of his team. And now the backs are going to have to come through here from Riddle as they keep trying to force it. It doesn't work out. And Barrage, the game could not be more different from the last one. The early game, yet again, a little bit dodgy, but once Barrage have taken control of this game, I am inspired by how relentless they are in the pressure that they apply.
And we also saw Riddle against Fnatic taking an extremely convincing game 1. It looked like they'd found Fnatic's number and they were going to be the team who could take them down. But then game 2 and 3, they ended up losing. We're seeing a similar potential thing here. Barrage are in control. They've hit their scaling points. And right now, it's really going to take Riddle executing some flawless team fighting to find an advantage here. Ultimately, Voxney needs to die if they're going to win this. Because you're seeing those 1.1k crits coming out. He's 4 items on the Caitlyn. And they're feeling so confident.
Like a moth to the flame, both teams keep getting drawn to Baron Nashor. Now, They are in full vision. Dan Voxney doing his best flipper cosplay. Just moving forward. He's not afraid of anything. He has more than enough damage, more than enough sustain. And this is what we were getting at earlier, Dan. Neither of these teams have a big engage tool. The fact that you can even move up so far as Jadrin at this point in the game is crazy.
This is going to be Baron started, and they need to move over quickly.
Oh, those traps. Oh, no. That's one crit for Dan Voxney. Dragon gets taken low, but will the Maxi go for the flip here? They try to go for it. Baron at 50 HP, but it's not enough. But there immediately goes down Dan Voxney. He's a big damage dealer. They need to just disengage now. And they're trying to run for the hills. They have the Baron empowered recall. And it's a 2 for Baron, which I think you'll take. You're definitely going to give up your tier 2 here, possibly even your inhib. But in the end, Barrage get what they wanted.
And I'm looking at what's spawning in 25 seconds. Is that dragon, which will be Soul. Riddle feel like they found a way back in this game. Ultimately, Dan Voxney caught out by the life form disintegration ray.
Are they just
Riddle looking to push up here. I don't think you can. Shockwave's huge.
And that is Rai and Sankooks both going down, but that's a lot of damage gone now as we see Jadrin getting blown up. That can absolutely not happen. He's the only source of consistent damage, and now it's just Nightmares on his own. Barrage, you were looking so good. I was starting to get faith again. And all of a sudden, everything crumbles. It will be Riddle taking the win here. My heart is broken. And I doubt that Barrage thought that was how they was going to go out. Unbelievable. What an ending to that game. I'm heartbroken, Orcs. That broke me.
Honestly, it's rough. I mean, this was not a great performance from Riddle. Barrage found the window back in, but then they just kept mis-executing. People were getting caught out. People were overstepping. Jadrin just couldn't find a way to consistently land shockwaves or be in the right spot at the right time. And then they go for the Baron. They end up losing the fight because Dan Voxney gets picked by the Lifeform Disintegration Ray. But they were still in the game. That game should not have ended there, but they overstepped trying to defend. They get taken out, and that's just it for Riddle. I don't think either team should be happy with this result, because Riddle, by all means, showed a very messy performance. But Barrage, they really just grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory, because I felt like that game was in their hands and they just threw it away. And that could have been a series if they were able to bounce back. But I do have to praise them. Obviously, Riddle are a formidable roster. We saw them take a game of Fnatic, and ultimately they did bounce back and at least make this game 2 competitive.
I gotta say, you gotta give credit to how well Barrage played. But in the end, I do feel like that win was deserved by Riddle just by how well they played to their outs. And in the end, it was enough. We're going to a short break, and I'm heartbroken. I'm really, really wondering how the rest of the desk feels about this win.
What's that strange face staring at me in the mirror, in the mirror? What's this strange change of season coming over, coming over? It goes on and on and on, and it never seems to stop. It goes on and on and on. What do I need? What do I need? I need to make it happen. To make it happen. Oh man, it ain't that easy, easy. What do I need? I need to make it happen. To make it happen. Oh man, it ain't that easy, easy. It ain't that easy. Maybe all we need is a change of scene, change of scene. Maybe all I want to have is change from me, If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna
Welcome back to the NLC. That was a Riddle taking the 2-0 victory over Barrage. Very dominant performance from them. I think that last game was definitely shaky, but nonetheless, it was the expected result, I think, coming into this particular series. Barrage, unfortunately, exit the competition here, but Riddle, they will live on to fight for the NLC and also for a European Master spot.
It's such a shame we don't actually go into a game 3 because I don't necessarily feel like Riddle are on top form still in this game. They showed a lot of question marks, especially around their top and bot lane. And Maxi again didn't necessarily show up in the entire series, which was, you know, the question that the Gulbok brought into the table as well. But Barrage for sure, they shook up the table. They sort of came back much stronger, and ultimately it was at the end making a couple of mechanical mistakes. I think Dan mentioned as well, Yadron on the Orianna was not the strongest, and when he was finding these big shockwaves, no one was necessarily around. So it was quite unfortunate, but Riddle find these mistakes, they capitalize, and they close it out.
I mean, I just feel you gotta feel so sad for Barrage, considering how bad they played the first game and how they actually bounced back in the second game and contested Riddle, showing how good of a team Barrage can be, only to drop the ball in the last minute. And it still shows what Barrage struggles with, which is this mid to late game. We've been talking about it multiple times. When the pressure is on, they are falling for it. And at the same time, you gotta give it to Riddle, even though it didn't look good for them in game 2, they managed to find that fight that really just solidifies their victory, even though it looked extremely dire for them. I completely had lost faith in Riddle and thought Barrage was going to win.
Yeah, I think realistically, sometimes that's what defines a good team. You know, sometimes the ability to come back from a situation where all looks lost. I mean, if anybody's been watching the Prime League, you might have seen that today a couple of times from Mouse Sports over there. But obviously for Riddle, I think, you know, there was a situation where you thought Caitlyn was taking over. You thought Voxney was about to carry the game, and they found the opportunity. They found the play. They found the mark they needed to hit, and that got them the win. That is sometimes what defines a good team, finding a win condition when you think there is no win condition left. And Riddle able to go 2-0 in this scenario very clearly demonstrating what kind of a good team they are, especially in some of those late game decision making.
And I like how we mentioned Dan Voxner because he is my highlight in the play of the day, in the play of the game, actually. And I'm really sad that he is my highlight because I feel like he played a big role in that mistake that Riddle snatched away. As you see, Maxi walks in and Dan Voxner completely leaves the Baron and goes to give that headshot to Maxi. And then his position is a little bit mismatched here. He gets caught by the Velcos, disintegrated into thin air. And remember that Caitlyn was the one carrying your fight. So even though Drady had a great ult there to try and save the 3 remaining teammates of his, the 5v3 was obviously much stronger for Riddle. Yadron onto the Orianna, he couldn't smurf it on the Nexus like Drady said last time to try and save Barrage this time, and Riddle snatched away the mistake and they snatched away the series.
Yeah, and I think I do want to let you know, I do hope Barrage holds their head high. They definitely had a resurgence in performance here in the playoffs, and the playoffs is brutal. Only 2 teams go through to the European Masters. Only one team's going to end up winning. This is not an easy part of the competition to perform in. So, all credit to Riddle for doing so. But those teams that do make it this far can hold their head high that they did make it this far in the first place. Look, I've got Maxi standing by for an interview, so I'm going to bring him in and have a chat to him. Maxi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. First of all, congratulations. You've got a nice 2-0 here over Barrage. You're going to find yourselves in the loser bracket final. So you'll be playing up against, or rather the loser bracket elimination match after this one. And you're going to be going up against either the winner of Nordavind and Tricked. Talk to me a little bit about this series, though. Coming into it, how confident were you? What was your plan of attack versus Barrage?
I think I was pretty confident. And we showed game 1 that we're a much better team. But I don't know, this game 2 was so tough to play, really. After that last thing, Sorry?
No, carry on. Carry on.
Yeah, after that first match, it just seemed really hard to play because they outranged us and couldn't really play fights or anything. But luckily they threw and we got the win.
Yeah, but like I said, sometimes just being able to capitalize on a throw like that and being decisive enough makes a team good. And, that's sometimes the situation you'll find yourself in games, right? The game yesterday versus Fnatic, how did you guys feel coming out of that series? Because it really felt like you were almost in the Barrage situation there, where you were so close to actually taking the series versus Fnatic. Did you feel like you had a boost of confidence coming out of that series? Were you disappointed? Like, what was the feeling of the team like coming out of that one?
I was a bit disappointed, I think. Like, game 3 was ours. We could win it easily, but yeah, we just messed up. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
but
I think realistically, taking a game off Fnatic is still a big achievement. Obviously, you would have liked to have got the series win, but nonetheless, you still delivered Fnatic their first loss in the entire tournament, which is always something to be, at least look back on and say, well, we did it once. If we have to do it again, it can definitely happen. So, hopefully that if you ever have to face them again in this tournament, that will give you a little bit of resolve. And obviously, now I have to ask you about the series that's coming up. It's going to be Nordavind versus Tricked. So my question is, who do you think wins? And conversely, who would you prefer to play?
Who's gonna win? I think both teams are similar in level right now. I think Trick didn't look very good in the last BU3 they played, but I'll go with Tricked. I think Tricked is gonna win. I don't really mind any of them.
Sure, you're happy with whichever one wins, you're going for Tricked. Any particular reason why, though? Just before I let you go, any particular reason why you think Tricked? Do you think it's like solo laners? Do you think Aaron's just better, or what's your kind of thought process there?
I don't know. They do crazy stuff all the time. They'll pick something weird and they'll win, I think.
Okay, pick something weird and they'll win. Look, we'll keep an eye on it for next draft. Maxi, honestly, congratulations. You're still fighting for the NLC. You're still fighting for the European Masters. It's still within reach. So we'll get to see more of you throughout this tournament. And rest up easy for the next matches next week.
Thank you.
He's going for Tricked, going on the side of Hiprain and Gulborg here.
Guys can't be stopped.
I know, the Gold Train
he's
can't be
thinking
stopped.
as in, what's going to be the easier opponent, Excandro? So he's like,
maybe. Look, guys, we have got another series to go. I want to make sure that we move on to that as quickly as possible. So I'm going to let you guys go for the moment. And Trouble will be moving to the casting desk. We'll be joined by Orcs, I believe, for the second best of 3. So we'll see you very shortly and we'll dive into that next series.